Actually, we need more time than that. My hair is a ragged beast. 8 minutes should do. At least the music's general proper volume. It is good. Now I gotta go wet my hair. Alright, now my hair is wet. I can actually start picking it. Also, hello everybody. We'll be ready in about 2 minutes and then we will begin. Just have to get kind of stream ready. Because I'll be damned if I have to roast some people across the timeline and on the website for dumb head-assery, and I don't have my hair looking fit. I'm surprised I don't suffer from that head. Ooh, whoa. See him showing you ads? That's gay. I thought I turned those off, but it's probably the things that I can't deal with. Fucking pre-rolls. I don't have any mid-rolls. Alright, go on, Carl. I know, it sucks, Red. I'm so sorry. Don't blame me. Blame the fucking website. And possibly let that be a advertisement to get Twitch Prime. Gotta keep the corporate overlords happy because they don't have enough money yet. Also, how do you all like the theme music? Because this is going to be what you're going to start seeing in future videos, by the way. This is the shit that I've had cooking up in the lab. It was intended for the podcast, but unfortunately I haven't had a chance to use it. People who pay attention might recognize this tune from months ago, because I made this along with another thing that's meant as an outro. I just like it because it's elevator music. Gives you all something to listen to, instead of just having dead air. Unfortunately, I can't run music while I'm presenting this, because I noticed, when I looked back at it, basically any of the music that I try to use essentially gets muted by, before I start. It gets muted by, Twitch, which means it'll get copy strike when I upload it. So rather, instead of having music live during it, we're all going to have to deal with the trend of having to basically have no music in the background, so that I can edit music in later, or just have none at all, and YouTube keep their hands off my filthy, non-existent dollars. At least on Twitch I signed a contract. On YouTube they just rape you for the money, and rape me too. Let's get into it. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host with the most, who was drinking that good zizza that I made last night. And we're going to talk about some bullshit. Just like before. We're actually going to be looking at a video from one of my favorite creators, Devin Nash. Possibly the industry person who I could outright source as being my inspiration for wanting to change how I do things. And the reason why, because we're going to have to look at some bullshit today. Unfortunate, unimaginable levels of bullshit. Are you prepared? Are you ready? No one's ready. No one is ready for the shit that I have to show you today. You're going to get mad. Just booting the shit up. And also, a word from your community, Carl. You're going to be looking at technically several situations I'm going to bring up, but I'm going to be referencing two of them out of hand right now because I'm going to make a point. But I have to say this before this because unfortunately, the way that the YouTube scene works, the way that Twitch works, people like to clip shit out of context and then like to present the context later. So I need to make sure I say this now. It is fine for people to go onto the internet and use it as an avenue to air their grievances with a platform and with ideas. It is not acceptable for a person. I'm going to put myself with the big screen. Make sure that they can't clip this shit. It is unacceptable for a person to use their position and platform and a movement like that is Me Too to try and get themselves more clout because they wanted more retweets behind their messages. It is unacceptable for a person to be racist to any group and any denomination, pregnancy status or otherwise, because they thought it would be cute to say some dumb shit because they knew it would be blasted on the timeline, and then lock their account and go private, and then say, oh, the whiteys found it, after going mask off racist, and saying that it has to do with the fact that whites be pressed, while being a partner of this platform, no fucking less. It is unacceptable when anyone does it, including if I were doing it. I do not care if they said it as a joke. I do not care if they said it as supposedly a meme for their inside community. It is unacceptable at any time, and you deserve to be mocked for it. You don't deserve to be harassed for it, because harassment is not criticism, and criticism is not harassment or incitement. Thank you, have a nice day. Let's get into the news, ladies and gentlemen. We're mainly going to be reacting to the video in front of us from Confronting Cancel Culture from Devin Nash. This video is spot on, but there are things in it that I disagree with that we have to go through because it is necessary. Because while Devin is right on the money, this is literally his thing. This is literally his job. He thinks all day about shit like this, and he makes talks about them. One of the problems is that he fundamentally does not understand how you undo something as wickedly stupid as cancel culture, and more importantly, how cancel culture's echoes actually affect not just people like myself, or him, or the industry, but affects the public perception of how the platform moves forward. If you remember what we did last time, this was the point that I agreed with when we were criticizing the take from Asmongold. Oh, whoa! Thank you, Stefan. Feed my money. Thank you. Thank you. This was the point that we agreed with on Asmongold. Twitch needs to do a better job of outright calling out when they're in the wrong, ruling on problems, presenting every single piece of evidence necessary for people to have rulings, and also to make it clear that no one can misunderstand what the fuck is happening. Keep that in mind as we go forward. Let's begin.
Just really briefly, I want to get this out there because I've been thinking about it a lot. And I'm really interested in the idea of cancel culture. What just happened with Call Me Carson got me thinking about it. Suffice to say that I don't actually care about the current like drama and what ifs or whatever. I'm not going to be offering an opinion on what I think happened as a result of these things. I just think that the sort of idea around it is really, really interesting about how it works and how people think it works versus how it actually works. Let's talk about the phenomenon first, okay? And this is I'm going to use Carson as an example in a couple of these things because it's topical as to right now, which is essentially this Call Me Carson.
Also, thank you for the bits. Also, as we move forward, as he presents all this shit, I'm going to stop when it's necessary to give you the context of why we're here. But if you don't watch the video yourself on your own for later to go through it and try to understand what he's saying, keep in mind that he is doing the same thing that Aaron from the Town Hall did concerning their concerns with Incel, Virgin, and Simp. This is the man, amongst other men and women, who actually does the sitting down and calculating and fractioning out how shit goes about. So the numbers he's about to say are 100% true. Keep that in mind. Just if you haven't ever looked at this, keep it in mind. It's good learning for you to study.
Just recently, and I mean like last night, there was some logs from his Discord that came out that allude that he had some sexual messages with a person that was 17 years old when he was 19 years old, and that there are some implications of like a power dynamic or the word grooming, like right. And again, I'm not offering any opinion on this. I'm not that sort of dude. I have my own opinions on it, but it's beyond the scope of like what I'm doing here, right? And I don't like care to follow drama and shit like that. What I do want to offer is like what happened, and like we need to like look at this, and also in the context of some of the things that have happened in the past, like why this is really interesting. Okay, so as a result, like there's been this like trending topic like worldwide on Carson for the entire day and much of last night. There have been tens of thousands of tweets, and there's been like an enormous amount of like response and like calls for like stuff to happen and like things like that. And so I want to say like what when I say cancel culture, we have to define that first, right? So like what I'm saying is like the phenomenon of large mobs of social media people going after influencers for perceived or actual faults, calling for any number of negative outcomes to happen, which is usually deplatforming, jail or arrest or total surrender, disappearance of this person. Is that a pretty good definition? I think that's like a pretty good definition of like cancel culture. And I want to talk about like how there's so many things going through my head. It's really interesting about this that like once I start telling you this stuff, it's gonna be really crazy once we put this all together. So so the first most interesting thing about cancel culture and the most pertinent question, the thing we're all gonna be wondering is, does it work? Does cancel culture work? Like, does it really cancel people? And the answer is unequivocally no. And this is probably the most interesting thing is that so cancel culture always makes influencers more prominent than less, unless a few things happen. And this is like a really interesting thing. So one of the things that I show people a lot is the graph of Alinity. When Alinity, I have a thing on my bookmark called Daily Reminder of Publicity. And this is when Alinity tossed her cat, allegedly. This is like a graph of her viewership and her views over time. So we look at this like over the last 30 days and the increase in viewership, okay? This is a really classic example of this happening, but you can see this everywhere, is that like usually when someone kind of quotes gets canceled, what happens is a concept called earned media. This is really fascinating. Earned media equals impressions that you don't pay for or you don't yourself create, or another way to say it is people talking about you. It's one of the most interesting aspects of social media and marketing today. And what YouTube has found, which I think YouTube is like one of the, no, they are the best platform in terms of understanding user behavior. Facebook comes close, but YouTube in a lot of ways has like different but just as relevant metrics. So YouTube figured out that a negative engagement on a video is as valuable as a positive engagement on a video for retention, chance that user is going to come back, advertising impressions, etc. And because of this, they equalized the formula for YouTube algorithm, which is well known now, that likes and dislikes actually count the same. Before, dislikes used to derank you in YouTube search. There's going to be some people that disagree with this, but anybody that understands YouTube to any degree understands that the negative and positive engagement on YouTube is the same. If you dislike a video, you're actually adding as much to that search engine result as you are a like. The way that it happened was, at first, when YouTube like first kind of like was starting to figure out their algorithm, dislikes actually deranked videos in the search engine. So you could actually like mass dislike a video, and that video would disappear from search results effectively. Then they changed it to be a little bit more equal, so that dislikes were still negative, but and likes were better. Then they actually made it equal, and then for a while they actually made it that dislikes were actually higher value than likes, and then finally they sort of like equalized it where it currently says today, at least based on our current understanding. Now, why would YouTube do this? Well, the idea of
Because they did not like the fact that they had their videos for YouTube Rewind being devoted every single year after they stopped actually putting people that people wanted to see on the website and started promoting what we knew was going to come, which was the corporatized version of this squeaky clean, safe YouTuber that nobody even fucking knows about. But it's supposed to be this internet sensation that we should all be subscribed and recommended to. That's the actual reason, Devin. What you say afterwards is a good explanation from a business industry standpoint, but it's not the reality. They got tired of YouTube Rewind getting downvoted every year because they refused to acknowledge actual shit that should have been seen and should have been heard and should have been known outside of the insular communities of the internet. That's the actual answer, when we've known that for years. Any person who makes content for Twitch and makes content for YouTube, who usually has a channel on both, knows this to be true. We've laughed about it all the time. And it's kind of part of the reason why people know about it. Because people laugh at them for their failures. It's also because when things are really heavily disliked, then it's something that businesses want to succeed. Why would the business that is now known for completely turning themselves to the advertisers and saying, listen, we want your money. So what we're going to do is we're going to fuck over small creators and large creators that we don't want to give platforms to. And we're going to advertise on their shit so we can make back the money that we have as a loss leader. Because we don't want to be caught out without making more money. Because every single time we operate this website year after year, we make no revenue from it. That's the real answer.
Earned media, right, is an impression. And the keyword is an emotional impression of a person on you. And that doesn't actually matter if it's...
Although, if you take this into grain of salt and you look at this from a complete marketing standpoint, what he's saying is actually true. Balancing out likes and dislikes and making them equal to each other so that you can be able to set up the idea that people engage with this more negatively or positively. And because they engage with this negatively, let's have a conversation. It sets up being able to write articles about things. You know for this for a fact. We've all seen the articles.
Negative or positive. Because if it's negative, that impression is, this makes me angry, I want to talk about this, I got to tell people about this. But that blast radius that goes out from like a negative Reddit thread, for example, might hit, let's say, 10,000 people. And those 10,000 people, maybe 2,000 of them didn't know who you were before at all. Or, more importantly, there's a marketing concept we're going to go over a lot in this talk. This is a lot of like really crazy, interesting marketing concepts. But there's a marketing concept called a passive audience. What a passive audience is an audience that's aware of you, but right now doesn't really think you're doing anything cool and hasn't checked you out in a while. How many of you guys have seen a Twitch stream, like when Pokimane comes on to talk about something and she instantly has twice the viewers? Why is that the case? The answer is the marketing concept passive audience. There's always a passive audience that is waiting to see what you do. Right now, if I really did something dramatic enough, like it's like, I am going to talk about the Bob 7 Call Me Carson drama, and I'm going to tell you the truth behind this streamer that no one knows, and I'm going to totally take down their career, and I'm going to do it in a hot tub with 6 hot chicks at the same time. That's going to get me 10,000 viewers right now, right? There's an audience of people that are sitting out there that are waiting for something like that to happen if your passive audience reach is high enough, and if people understand you to be in that place, okay? So when your passive audience kind of gradually forgets about you, I mean, you have like your dedicated core audience, and I've explained this in the way of like circles before, where this is like a pretty easy concept, where like the closer to the core, you have some people here that will like check out anything you do, but the vast majority of people like are somewhere else on this target.
This example he's putting on screen, I want you to think of this in terms right now of my audience, those of you who are here. By the way, while we're doing this, let's do an experiment. Take this stream, link it to all your friends, and show them what I'm talking about. Just spread it out, because that little red dot in the center is me. All of the things that are happening around us are all the spheres of influence outside of our own. I want to show you a point, because I'm going to make a point later when we get into what we got to get into. But I want you to see what's being said here so you know what I'm reacting to and the context behind it, because I don't want y'all to be ignorant.
Board, right? And so like the people out here may not have heard of you for like a month. They may not have heard of you for like 6 months. But all of a sudden, because the earned media actually brings it back to the front, all of a sudden you're now thinking about that person and consuming their content again. And then so what actually happens is that impression actually lasts for a long time, and people actually come back and will watch that person again. And so like you very well might have a negative thing happen, but like 2,000 people that didn't think about you before for the last like 3 months because you didn't do anything that was that crazy will now know about you. And because of this, the smartest people, or I should say the most malevolent or manipulative on these platforms, understand this concept and they farm it over and over and over again. People like Keemstar, they're constantly controversial. There's always something going on about them. You can know people like.
At the same time, that also includes the very person he's trying to defend. The context you need to have behind that is that Devin Nash has interviewed people like Pokimane, and has interviewed people like Amaranth. He's had involvement with them to make content, and has talked to them about, hey, what made you involved in this platform? What made you think that you wanted to be a streamer? And those people lied on camera and said, I don't think about things like popularity. And meanwhile, what do you see people like Pokimane worrying about? And more importantly, we know that's a goddamn lie if you say that, oh, all of these creators have never thought about that, because we have literally a fucking coke-and-fueled rant from possibly the best troll that exists on the platform now. A troll that's doing it better than Belle Delphine. Invader V, outright having a coke-fueled binge. It wasn't a coke-fueled, I'm just memeing. Having a binge. Ranting about how she wants to improve things, and then outright bragging that she banged a guy who wanted to bang her because she wanted to be a popular streamer, and celebrating the fact that she got a stuffed toy from that. Just saying.
Like this, Martin Shkreli did this for a very long time. Like where it's like, it's this. They know that freaking the giant media companies are experts at this, right? Is that they know that they can constantly farm your outrage, and that you will continuously come back to it and give them ad impressions and give them earned media that then allows them to reach other audiences that don't feel the way you do. And as a result, they get bigger and they make more money. So cancel culture has this effect on people and can't actually cancel anything. If anything, it actually boosts the sort of signal of these broadcasters and makes it more prominent the worse that it is because of the aforementioned reasons. Now, keep in mind that I said it always makes influencers more prominent unless a few things happen. So what are the things that happen when cancel culture actually works, right? And it actually cancels someone. Most people think that cancel culture works because you do indeed see some people get banned, not create content, and most people think that that's because of their pressure, but it actually isn't. So how does someone actually get canceled? Now, this is I think this is going to be the most fascinating part of this talk, okay? So right here, this is a search range of partners that got banned on Twitch in 2020 summer when people were talking about the Me Too movement. Basically what happened was like a lot of women in the game industry came out.
Keep this in mind. I want you to keep this in mind right here.
And started talking about what was happening behind the scenes in a lot of different communities with a lot of legitimate cases of abuse to women, sometimes underage people. And you're going to see a lot of names in here that got banned, but you're going to see a theme here. And that theme is that every single broadcaster that actually got platform banned made a written confession. And to a man, the ones that didn't, despite overwhelming evidence on them, did not. So what happened here? Because let me like back up real quick and tell you what I think an actual cancellation is. An actual cancellation that like super screws you up and like messes you up is literally a deplatform from Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, YouTube. Okay, so like the example of somebody that would quite literally have gotten fully deplatformed.
Essentially, what he's saying is, people who lose out and maybe get banned for a day, get banned for a week, get banned for a month, that's not an actual cancellation. But we know that this isn't quite true. Because what he's basically admitting is what is actual cancellation is getting Alex Jonesed. It's unfortunate that he made this on January 6th. Because, oh boy. Oh, I would wonder, and I fear to ask him, if anybody could get close enough to ask Devin, what he thinks happened during the Capitol Hill riots. But that's not what we're here for. But I want you to keep that in mind. Things like Me Too, social events on a platform, and the stigmas that come with things like accusations that can then lead to mass cancellation, lead to you being deplatformed from multiple websites because of the opinion that people choose to have about you and not actually understanding a situation in general, that actually can destroy people's lives. I've had people try to destroy my life for 2 years straight because they are really mad that I exposed them and their tactics. And their entire reaction to that situation was to try to come to my stream and create a false flag situation to get me banned on Twitter, Twitch, and Discord at the same time. And then possibly get me deplatformed from YouTube as well. All because I put them on a hot microphone and I let them talk about how big they were. I have the evidence to prove now, because somebody in my audience chose to go out to do that for me. And thank you, kind madam. I have the evidence to prove the very thing that I said was happening at that moment was happening because they wanted to do that. And they admitted explicitly that they came to my stream to do so. You won't hear about things like that outside of my sphere of influence because we don't have enough people behind us. But you'll hear about things like Call Me Carson. You'll hear about things like Linity, mainly because of that idea. Oh, somebody did a thing and everybody's talking about it. Let's look at what's happening. Oh no, more drama. Devin's a person who takes a position of not liking drama because drama in general fucks a business. In fact, while we're here, I would like to direct your attention to another talk where Devin talks about understanding the exact effect of what I'm talking about and the perception that goes out not to people who are inside or outside of that insular community, who are haters, motivating them and keeping them forward, but more specifically, the outside perception of how this affects people's business flow and how much they could possibly be able to have to make money off this. Where is it? It's the concept of toxicity, actually. We talked about this at length, and I know that video's there. I just don't know where exactly it is in this list because this man puts out a lot of goddamn work. Because this video was made back during the time when we saw the entire stupidity of what was EVO 2020 blow up in front of everybody's face. Joey Claire and most of the people who were in the pro scene, all of that shit happened kind of because they didn't want to, take shit seriously. It's in here somewhere, but I don't know where it is. I think it's this one.
The reason that I wanted to stream today is because I think that there's a lot of really important things to talk about, which is sort of why I started this channel in the first place. Was like I wanted to create a platform for talking about really important issues in the gaming industry. And when I thought about important issues in the gaming industry today, I realized that there may not be a more important issue than the sheer magnitude of toxicity surrounding the gaming industry.
This is the one. This was made back in July 3rd, 2020. So he made this back during the time period of the riots, right?
And for that reason, it might be a focal point of what we speak about today. And, this is going to be a super real talk stream. I like to run entertaining streams. I don't like to do these. It's not great for me to do these, but it needs to be done. I want to really add a bit of positivity and tell a couple stories and whatnot. And I think, together we can, work together to get through it. Where I guess, my traditional foundation in dealing with life is from Buddhism. Some people that are parts of my...
That's something for y'all to watch. This is an hour. We don't want to be here watching this video and the other one too. So just keep that on the back point. He talks about this explicitly by name in July and has kind of changed his viewpoint about this in January of this year. Ask yourself a couple of questions about what's inherently different in that situation. Because some people would say there's context. There really is no context. There's really no difference at all. Because if there's been nothing but constant cancel culture in gaming scenes, with people making false allegations or making actually truthful allegations and being shouted down as false until all of the evidence comes out and people change their mind based on which way the wind is blowing, there is no difference to this behavior going on here. It's just that this is the marketing aspect of it, and it's not so much the other aspect of it. He's talking about the marketing viewpoint of, like, say, a situation like Pro Jared's, where Pro Jared has shit happen because of the Sin Jared drama, and him essentially cucking Ross out of Holly, and them going together now, but at the same time, him, months later, from his own cancellation situation, jumping on to the cancel bandwagon. Shit like that happens because if you only look at the marketing aspect and not the personal social aspect, you miss one of the most important things, which is how people perceive the problem outside of the insular communities. I'd go as far as to say that a website like Twitch is moving extremely radical left. We'll get into it later, but I want you to get to the end of this video so that you can understand where I'm coming from when I say to somebody who I consider to be an expert and would be a guru that I've looked towards, that he could be not more unbelievably fucking wrong and out of his mind for not seeing the comparisons and the parallels that are happening here. I want to put that in your head.
Platform is like an Alex Jones. Okay, so like Alex Jones, like quite literally got canceled. He was dropped on YouTube. He was dropped on Twitter. He's not on Twitch, but he's dropped on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. Like the tech companies as a whole completely decided to deplatform him. This was an actual concentrated hit to his brand. He actually get canceled.
Also, keep in mind that what he just said. He just confirmed when people come after you for whatever reason together as a hegemon, that is an actual cancellation. Look around what's happening to us on all these platforms and ask yourself how this is being allowed to happen when we can see this very thing happening but not happening to certain people for certain reasons.
This way, then you really are canceled. But I want to like sort of exemplify how rare this is and why it's so rare. So every single broadcaster that actually got banned on Twitch during that time had written a written confession admitting to it. Several broadcasters that, in my opinion, had overwhelming evidence against them did not get banned. And I want to be very careful here because I need to tell a story in relation to this. During the summer 2020 cancellation, there were two companies. I can't tell you who they were and I can't tell you what happened, but I can tell you that this happened, okay? And I watched it happen. Both CEOs of each company, respectively, in the same industry, were accused of similar sexual harassment. The first CEO went to Twitter. Just started to be really careful because I don't want to identify people. So went to Twitter, instantly posted like a 15 to 20 thread thing about the issue. The second CEO went silent themselves on Twitter for 3+ months, but their company posted that they understood the allegations and were doing a third-party investigation. Fast forward 1 month, what happens? The first CEO, now I'm telling a true story, this is a true story of two people that I watched this happen, and the first CEO, well, the business literally imploded. Everyone left. Employees, clients, everything. The business today is non-existent. It was a massive shakeup at the time in the summer. It's literally non-existent. The Twitter threads were received incredibly negatively, and people voluntarily left the company just directly. And not even within the first month, within the first 48 hours, they were gone. It was it. Second CEO, there were 2 tweets total. The company tweeted 3 months later that the allegations had been third-party verified and no misconduct was found. Now, I want to stress, we didn't know what company was the third-party investigation in this. We didn't know anything about it. There were 2 tweets total. The CEO went completely silent on Twitter. Fast forward 1 month, what happened? To this day, the company is a prominent force in the gaming industry, and that CEO is active right now. And that's the difference. It was literally the same exact industry, a totally different way of handling it. But it illustrates something very interesting, doesn't it? You would think that in most cases of leadership, right, it makes the most amount of sense to take ownership of something. And when you've done something wrong in a company, like to your employees or something like that, you taking ownership of something is a sign of being a strong and accountable person and a strong leader. And I encourage like taking ownership of things in your own life and everywhere. Very interestingly, like this is not the case with cancel culture, where the opposite is true. That if you simply don't take ownership of things, just kind of like let it die, that you will just kind of get past it. And this is a concept that we're going to move into. Let's call this the fickle crowd. Okay, so
I'm going to stop right there for a second. I'm going to break this down for you easily. Perfect case example of people who are paying attention to the scene, mainly because I've made them aware of it, because we're having talks like this. Take Call Me Carson's situation right now. Yesterday, I remember seeing a tweet from Lupin, somebody who is a person on Twitter, and say that he was flabbergasted and surprised that Call Me Carson has only made basically a couple of tweets and never said a single fucking thing about any of the things that are being brought against him. Why do you think that is, chat? Rhetorical question Carl asked to his audience. Why do you think it would be that a person who has, what, 2.2 million? Possibly pushing 3? Let's look. Also, multiple fucking things. Oh no, this man's already broke with 3.1 million. I wonder, why would a man who gets usually a general amount of, say, about 4 million if not about 3 million looks on a fucking video, I wonder why that person would not want to call attention to what could be shit that could fucking ruin their career. I wonder why that person would do that. Man alive, I couldn't tell you, chat. I couldn't fucking tell you. In reality, getting a little bit back from the memes though, the reason why is because why the fuck would he? He's actually about to explain this. Devin's going to explain this. You wait and let something else take over the cycle. So that when people talk about your shit, you just wait a little bit and you don't say anything at all. Never officially address it. Never say it in a video. Never address it in a video. Never bring attention to it in a video. And you'll never be held accountable. Because people have bad memories. Because people are lemmings. That's the real answer. People are lemmings. General people who think that they're solid individuals who have credibility, position, virtues. They don't. They don't have principles for which they are based on and a standard, battle standard or otherwise, for which they will die under when it comes to holding their own selves accountable. And I'm not saying this is applicable to Devin, but in this situation with Devin's takes, I fail to understand how it's different. I have dandruff in my keyboard. Hold on. That's gonna trigger me for an hour. This happens every time I do my hair. But it is the reality of what happens on this platform. The reality is that I work in a business and industry full of fucking vipers. That's the end all and be all. Perfect example is during the summer when the riots were happening, when they basically made it uncool to be able to do anything at all, and you weren't allowed to see anything but riots happening in front of you. I chose to cover the news stories of the riots. I chose to tell people, hey, remain calm, but also, here's what's actually happening outside. I took news stories of what was good and bad, positive and negative reactions to the shit happening, and I put it in a video, 3 videos in total, if you remember, and I presented that on my channel. And then I went on to episode 13 of Digital Blackface, Pose stream, Pose, talk show / podcast. That was then hijacked after that episode by the former producer. I brought up the fact that I made documented examples of behavior like this. That producer, Burner, then outright falsely copy-striked, or rather reported my video, more appropriately, but it's the same fucking deal because I've been guideline striked for that. Warning, but doesn't really matter because I don't do dumb shit and I know what I was in the range of doing. Chose to get that video reported as a claim of impersonation, and then tried to levy the fact that they did this personally, came to my own stream while I was still playing Terraria, antagonized me in my own chat, and tried to muscle me into going on to the very same hijacked podcast that they stole for the purposes of making political bloodsport by trying to make a very bad fucking thumbnail and taking clips of me out of context to try to get me to go on there to defend my honor. I ignored this person, and I let that shit fucking die after we addressed it to every single person who needed to know, and said nothing else about it because they were hoping that we would make them more popular. This is something that Devin will also go into. That person no longer has an internet platform because they didn't have the ability to survive after it had been outed that they stole it and that they were falsely doing shit to try to bring more attention to themselves because they thought they could be Joshua Moon. This person no longer has a presence, but I still have a community guideline strike that has not been addressed by YouTube on the platform. And it's not a matter of them not understanding that they don't have the context behind it. When I told them about it, because unfortunately we have to talk to a platform's support desk through fucking Twitter, when I brought it to their attention, I gave them all the information and backstory that they'd need to understand the hit-by-hit play. The fact that the rules were abused should mean that it should be immediately removed and I get a fucking apology for having to suffer through the incompetence of people relying on an automated system during a fucking riot and during the fucking coup. Because, of course, COVID-19 is serious. Even though there are people who quite literally are reneging their own official standings, and you have officials breaking their own rules and going against their own suggestions, but that's neither here nor there. That shit happened, and the official body has refused to do anything about it. The most I've gotten is a, we're sorry that happened, we'll pass it along to our team. This is what we live in, okay? Now, at the end of this video, Devin's going to tell you that the way that we counteract this is not just not give this thing power and don't live in drama, but more importantly, try to signal boost positive voices. But I'm going to show you what happens when you try to signal boost voices inside of a platform that thinks it's a smart idea to do the things that they've decided to do this week. But let's finish.
So the news cycle and the drama cycle is so fast that if you're willing to just wait out something, it just passes. So I've thought of this a lot with a couple of streamers that had, I mean, just ironclad allegations against them during the summer cancellation. All they did was they turned on sub chat, they didn't talk about it at all, and they just waited for that to blow over. Do you remember that movie, Hot Fuzz, where it's like, we're gonna go to Winchester, gonna get a drink, we're just gonna wait for this all to blow over, and it worked. It worked.
That's not the Hot Fuzz. That is Shaun of the Dead. You pleb.
Perfectly, those streamers are still there to this day, and their viewership is up. You never hear anything in their chat. And again, I really don't want anyone to try to guess who these people are. Like, let's get past that. That's whatever. It's just, I mean, everyone who was following it kind of like knows who these people are. But this is just a very interesting marketing concept that, like, and this is the point. Here's what's gonna happen, right? Going back to the Call Me Carson situation, I'll show you. The only way, other than deplatforming, and I want to say how difficult deplatforming actually is, the only way to actually get canceled is to cancel yourself. It's to let the pressure of the situation mentally affect you so negatively that you stop uploading or stop creating, cancel yourself, which is like what Zero did, right? Like Zero, quite literally was like, I'm just never gonna make content again, and then I'll stream on Facebook, but that's about it. And there's some other broadcasters that committed to that as well. But if you can lean into it and either stay silent for X number of months, or you can lean into it and literally double down. Like you could just post videos and say, yep, like this happened. Like and again.
Oh, by the way, that right there, what he just said. Remember what I said last time about Pokimane? Yeah, that's exactly what she fucking did. By the way, let's keep that in mind too. Pokimane, a main, literally got roasted, not bullied, not harassed, but roasted by Calvin. Leafy is here about her attitude towards people and how she chooses to receive herself and present herself on the internet. People considered that situation that she brought on herself by trying to antagonize people and being a fostering position of bad will was harassment. And then literally 2 weeks into the goddamn drama, we find out that not only was he 1000% right with his predictions, but that Fedmeister is the exact font we needed to finally know that, oh yes, she actually is an Ice Queen. Oh yes, she actually is that bitter. Oh yes, she actually is that abusive. And she wants to cover this all up because she really doesn't want to break that public persona. Things like that, fucking eyes to the goddamn wind. How many people would know about that situation if they weren't paying attention? Or worse, if they weren't a broadcaster who has to know that it's happening so that they understand what to do to protect themselves. Or if they're not a watcher of somebody like It's a Gundam. Or not a watcher of me. That's the situation you have to think about there when you think about shit like that. People can get away with crimes just as long as they shut the fuck up and they just let the shit blow over.
And I want to stress how much I'm not trying to.
Although, let's be honest, it's not a crime to be selfish and be money driven. It is kind of a problem if you present yourself as an uwu soft girl, and then at the same time you get found out that you like to talk about things like fisting, and that you are outright sexually torturing a man because you really like the idea of power. I'd say that's something that kind of destroys somebody's personality. If she wants to continue saying that, hey, it's not a big deal, it's not a problem, because this is what she chose to do after Fed came forward, and she couldn't actually just say this didn't fucking happen. It's one thing to be embarrassed and take that on the head and just say, you know what, fuck it. I don't care if people know. It's out there now. It's another thing entirely to try to put the mask back on after it's been ripped off or after you rip it off of yourself. Do you know what I'm saying?
Any kind of judgment. I'm not trying to say that this is right or wrong. I am fascinated in marketing concepts. I'm fascinated in business, and I'm fascinated in how things work. I'm fascinated in how stuff works. I have no judgment to pass on Carson or anyone I talked about, or whatever. I have my own opinions on everything like this. I'm not sharing them. This is purely a marketing talk. One of the people who has proven throughout the past 4 years to be one of the most prominent people around this is Donald Trump, right? Now, love him or hate him or whatever you think about him, again, I'm not here to pass an opinion on it. I think everybody on both sides of the aisle can realize what a master marketer he is, right? Where if someone says, like, okay, what are you gonna do? We're gonna build a wall. We're gonna keep Hispanic people out. Well, what you can't do that is, you know what? I'm gonna build it twice as big. Every single time that somebody comes out, he doubles down, and it's like it just the outrage. There seems to be no upper limit to this working. Like the marketing is just infinitely effective as long as you get people to have some kind of emotional response, and you don't cancel yourself. You're either so narcissistic that you don't let yourself be canceled, or, which is in the case of a lot of people, like I think the Keemstar type people, right, where they're literally just so narcissistic that they think that everything is revolves around them and they can't be wrong, so that they just don't let anybody cancel them, or they just keep doubling down. They understand this concept from sort of a marketing manipulation.
By the way, he kind of has a personal bias versus people like Daniel Keem. I'm not gonna pass judgment on that one way or another. I personally have no fucking problem with Daniel Kim. This man came to my defense in the situation involving an extremely narcissistic person, Natalie Casanova. I have my own opinions, and my own opinion is Daniel Kim could avoid a lot of situations if he just sat down and waited like a couple of fucking seconds for people to make the counterclaim tweets, or if he presented everything as a, let me tell you about what's happening, let's laugh at this dumb shit, rather than breaking news. That's my opinion. It'd go really a lot farther if you started laughing at some of this shit more than treating every single thing like a doomsday scenario, or treating it like something that needs to be entered into a 28-hour news cycle, or 72-hour news cycle. It would benefit you if you didn't do that, but I'm not going to break the man's hustle because he has more money than I do.
Standpoint, the way that we're talking about it, and then they utilize this as a tool to manipulate you. Either way, they're invulnerable. They get more and more popular, and nobody can really stop them. And every voice that is a dissenter to them becomes an actual opinion. Becomes an actual amplifier, becomes a signal to whatever their message is. Because again, it's helping them reach that passive audience. It's helping them re-engage with their fans. To quote Logan Paul, I rely on my haters to be the amplifier for my content. It's a literal quote from Impulsive. He understands this concept very dramatically, that like the people that are emotionally charged to talk about him are going to be the people that actually are his brand. In some cases, in many cases, are actually more valuable to him than his supporters. Because his supporters might not necessarily be the people that are like talking about him all the time, but these guys that are living rent free in their head, they're just posting about him all the time, they're talking about him all the time, and this is constantly creating this passive marketing for him, which is endlessly getting them more viewership. And if you look at these people like the people that are trying to cancel Pokemon, or the people that are trying to cancel Keemstar, or the people that are trying to cancel Donald Trump, it's not working, right? Like they're just like it just they get bigger and bigger and bigger. So what?
I want you to keep that in your head. He just admitted that people who use this outrage cycle to promote themselves are effectively immune to it. I'd like to offer to you, because I'm going to start presenting the shit that I have to you right now. I'm going to offer to you, in a reality, chat, I want you to think about this really hard. If you work on a platform that will outright move first and will immediately start panicking if a woman is crying on stream and says she's been harassed by a man, and you're looking at a case open shut of a person being outright racist on a platform, do you think that the reason why they're immune is because they're just completely beyond default? The reason is because they're not actually guilty, people are just overreacting? Or do you think it's because the business knows they'll lose money if they acknowledge the problem, and rather than acknowledge the problem, they're going to outright have the forward-thinking position that we have seen demonstrated time and time again, especially including that with Stephanie Lohr, where the CEO of the business will say, we're not going to look into it because everything's harassment. On that note, let's transition to the thing that we have to talk about here. We have two examples and cases that I want to show you. The first one is going to be really open and shut for you. I want you to pay attention really close to this, because this is the shit that I don't like. Unfortunately, we're going to have to look at LSF to do this, because we don't have this information anywhere else. But let's just be on that as it may. But I have shit that other people don't want to fucking talk about. But let's get into it. Remember! Also, really quick question in chat. Just really quick. Who knew who Gootecks was? The old face of PogChamp. Who knew who Gootecks was before they announced that they would be removing the emote and instead replacing it on a cycle with the face of new broadcasters who are platformed streamers, who are partners with the way that things go forward? Who knew that that was a person? Hey, cross counter. Love to see it. Just pull up in the chat. Did you know? Did you not know? Just want to know. Just on the broadcast. Okay? Now, let's transition to story number one. Critical Bard. Black individual. Outright. Out and out. Exactly what you think I'm about to get into. Says this dumb shit.
Cool. I guess want to comment about, so what's happening is, because I'm kind of seeing it a little bit on Twitter plus in here, someone shared that a conglomeration of all the times I said white feelings don't matter, and are pressed about that, and now are using that as a tirade against me, saying, I thought you don't have PogChampers who don't say bad things. And I'm like, totally not the same. I'm not condemning an entire people and defending insurrectionists and people who did some headassery. I'm saying that when you say white lives matter, they don't. And I'll say that again, whether I'm a Twitch partner or not. Just so you know. White lives don't matter because white lives aren't a thing.
Sounds really bad, right? Well, unfortunately, I have the context to this, and it gets a lot worse. This is directly from the stream that they had. That was 3 hours and 21 minutes and 16 seconds long. Here's the full clip, ladies and gentlemen. Let's speed this shit up, because I don't want to have to hear this shit. I don't like broadcasting and platforming hatred on my fucking stream. But unfortunately, I need to show you the truth, so you can find it out for yourself. And by the way, while we're looking at it, while I'm here, clip this shit yourself! Go clip it yourself. Watch it with your own eyes if you don't believe what I'm telling you. Let's hear it for his full mouth. Take it from the top, Bard!
So what's happening is, I'm kind of seeing it a little bit on Twitter plus in here. Someone shared that a conglomeration of all the times I said white feelings don't matter, and are pressed about that, and now using that as a tirade against me, saying, I thought you don't have PogChampers who don't say bad things. I'm like, totally not the same. I'm not condemning an entire people and defending insurrectionists and people who did some headassery. I'm saying that when you say white lives matter, they don't. And I'll say that again, whether I'm a Twitch partner or not.
It's all lag.
Just so you know.
I think it's because I'm playing it at double speed. Let me try slowing it down. That also might actually just be because it's playing in 720p. What the fuck? You don't deserve 720p.
White lives don't matter because white lives aren't a thing. You can be proud of being Italian. You can be proud of being Scottish. You cannot be proud of being white. It's not a thing. On the flip side, black folk have to say black lives matter because we were stolen from a country that we loved and were forced to be here, stripped of our heritage and our identities. All we know is our blackness. There's a difference between saying black lives matter and white lives matter. I will say that again. There's a difference between black lives matter and white lives matter. And if you don't like that, again, you don't have to be here. And I'm still gonna be a PogChamp, so that's that.
Yeah, and thank you, mods, for cleaning all that shit up in chat.
Your current face of PogChamp is an individual who believes it is okay to be a Captain ACAB, saying, I don't care about the police, I don't care about white people, I don't care about this, I don't care about that, and unironically being racist, and then making the double down excuse that I expect to hear from the radical left, where they say, oh, it's different, it's acceptable to be bigoted, because you see, my people were stolen. Homie, let me be outright truthful with you, my fam, my bro, my brethren. I am a person with descendants who were brought to this fucking plantation of America? And I'm gonna go ahead and put that up there. Was brought here. I got the fucking records. I have the fucking documentation. I got the fucking pictures, bruh. Some of them, 7 of them, 3 men, 4 women, were brought here as sex slaves to be breeded by their fucking white masters. And because that dick and pussy was so good, they were given the plantations. And then, I have ancestors who unironically sold those people into slavery for guns so we could ride up and down the River Gao from Jenny to Timbuktu under our Lord Oscar the Most High. Fucking shout out to the Songhai Empire. But bro, what the fuck does any of that have to do with the current year you live in? Oh no, my ancestors were kidnapped, so I have to be racist to white people because that's how it works now. Why the fuck was this allowed to exist here? Why was this allowed to be said? Why was this not immediately fucking called out by Twitch? Questions. Food for thought. It's rancid food. It's nasty. It's disgusting. But you gotta eat it anyways because this is how it works now. Now, let me show you what Hassan fucked in the high hole by the Honorable Mujahideen. America deserved 9/11. A P. Piker thought about the situation. Fucking verbatim.
White lives don't matter because white lives aren't a thing. You can be proud of being Italian. You can be proud of being Scottish. You cannot be proud of being white. It's not a thing.
Oh, he's saying literally exactly what I was saying. Yeah, of course.
Side black folk.
You don't deserve you don't deserve fucking 1080p either.
White lives don't matter because white lives aren't a thing. You can be proud of being Italian. You can be proud of being Scottish. You cannot be proud of being white. It's not a thing.
Oh, he's saying literally exactly what I was saying. Yeah, of course.
Side, black folk have to say Black Lives Matter because we were stolen from a country that we loved and were forced to be here, stripped of our heritage and our identities. All we know is our blackness. There's a difference between saying Black Lives Matter and
Exactly. And if you knew like fucking 3 black people, you would already know this reality. I hadn't even seen the context, but that is the truth.
I hadn't even seen the context, but that is the truth. Didn't even see the full context from the behavior. Oh, well, ladies and gentlemen, that's not the only thing on this. Let me show you what this individual thinks about people. White representation is not a thing. White folk do not need to be represented. Let's make this very clear. Black lives matter. All cops are bastards. Fuck the police. I do not care about your white feelings. I don't refuse. The minute that you said you can be racist towards white people, I zoned out. I have seen white girls with darker faces and lighter skin. But how do you uno trace not reverse it? This is a hot ass mess. Outside of myself, the only person who's broken that this has happened was Richard Lewis himself. Richard Lewis, one of the better fucking games journalists, if not one of the only ones that I could possibly respect. Because Thorin's up there. Rod, I'm kind of not feeling it on Rod. Rod /Blair's is kind of like out there. He's one of the good ones, but honestly, sometimes he kind of just says some shit and puts his foot in his mouth. But in this situation, I want you to tell me, where the fuck do you get off justifying this existence and saying, oh no, if you knew for black people, you'd know that this is true. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. I don't think about how I've been oppressed by white men in my life. Because the most oppressed that I've actually been in my life was by an elderly black woman who outright falsified an allegation of violence against me. Because they didn't have anything else to accuse me with. Because they had already been hired and fired by the business that I was working for. And made me lose my job. Because they didn't like the fact that I was slotted in a position to take over hers. Because she was treating people like dog shit. She had 50 billion reports against her. And unfortunately, people were not as sneaky to get through and do what we needed to do to counteract this. Because she knew what the loopholes were, so she knew what she had to do to block truth getting out to the eyes of the people who had the power to make decisions. Didn't matter that the people who were the ones that had the final say were basically removed away from it. Didn't matter that they knew what the actual truth was. My shit was put in front of HR, and they just decided. This, my friend, is the dark side of cancel culture, where people who say dumbass headassery like this outright get away with it. Because other streamers like Hassan Abi get away with it. People who exist here to do nothing more but to proliferate drama. And rather than saying, you know what, I agree with you, but you shouldn't have said it out loud. You shouldn't have said the quiet part loud. Instead, I can promise you, guaranteed, straight out bet, not only is Critical Bard not going to see punishment for this, people are going to continue to justify this. Because it's different! But I can promise you right now, if somebody was to even say it as a joke, without having this fucking complexion, they'd be banned instantaneously. No questions asked. I do not know how the fuck you can be able to justify such hatred, such bigotry. This is the platform that says they don't want to platform hate. This is the platform where they want to understand context behind the reality of how people live lives. Where's the fucking reality behind basically outright erasing people's experience? How about all those black people who were not brought here because their ancestors were slaves? What about the people who immigrated here fairly? What about the mixed race people who have lives that have nothing to do with that kind of reality? Who don't live permanently mad about politics? Do they exist? Are they black? Are they white? Are you telling me that you unironically believe in one drop theory? Oh, fam! Don't say it ain't so! That's one side of the coin. Let's talk about another side of the coin. I have to look for it. Here it is. At the same time this was happening, over in Twitch Rivals, remembered when I talked about Twitch Rivals last stream? Bring it up in your head. Full, like, refresher on context. Twitch realized during the Joey Calaire situation during the summer that it would be very smart for them to make a move on becoming people who can have officiated positions concerning tournaments on the website. And because of this, they decided that the smart thing to do would be to start enforcing integrity bans, competitive integrity bans, and making decisions based not on bullshit that they heard, but on supposed competitive integrity concerning rulings that they have on the platform and how they will act on these things on the platform. Unfortunately, they had the grand decision of effectively platforming a person who wanted to use the Me Too movement to broadcast further how they needed to be heard and how they were abused by someone they were never abused by. We wanted to update everybody on Twitch Rivals League of Legends Series 1. First, due to changes in the participants list, we decided to hold a redraft in the interest of competitive integrity. This draft will occur off-stream, and the new teams will be shared once they have been formed. Additionally, your princess has decided to step down as a captain so as not to distract from the tournament. We also wanted to provide clarity on channel moderation for Twitch Rivals. We have a number of auto-mod settings in place to keep Twitch chat safe and limit spam, which sometimes results in messages that appear to be spam not going through. This message is unironic fucking lies. How do I know? Because I did 5 seconds. 5 seconds. 5 fucking seconds of research. Let me tell you the actual truth of this situation. CLG Tuesday, a member who was on the teams for Twitch Rivals, had his name banned from chat. Why was the name banned from chat? Because the user that they just mentioned, your princess, when Me Too accusations were going out the exact same time that everybody was making them, you remember the ones that came from streamers like Vio that confirmed for us that Twitch admins were outright, unironically, hoping to go from tier 3 sub to the boyfriend experience, giving favors to partners or to people who were partner prospectfuls to elevate and fast-track their membership into partnership status, and giving them official bonuses, and effectively giving them money for being female and white. Or just being female, and possibly being attractive and single. These things happened, and they created rules on this website that would have protected that person had they not done an internal investigation. This person, unironically, had members of the fucking website come into their chats when this happened and said, "I am so sorry you went through all of this." A false allegation that we has confirmed is false. And yet members of the website still decided on behalf of Twitch, whether they say that it was a rogue individual who has no affiliation because they've been fired now, or it's somebody, I got spittle on my screen, somebody who had a rogue affiliation to the website that has been fired from everything that's on their hard. 1 second. Whether they choose to come up with the excuse that it was a rogue affiliation from people who had ties to the mod chat and had the power to be able to make such choice, or if it was an internal decision that was done to try to prevent people from talking about it, if it hadn't been for people like CLG Tuesday coming out and telling people this has happened to them, if it hadn't been for the fact you had this happen, and basically people were expected to just go along with this like it was normal, if it wasn't for the fact that there are streamers like me that exist that pay attention to dumbass shit that happens like this in the platform so that we can be able to protect ourselves, so that we know that this shit is not actually balanced, it's not actually fair, it's not actually at any point at all, at any point in time, focused on how things happen. If it wasn't for the fact that this was a situation that had been documented on fucking stream, documented live, you would have never known it happened. Because of the ripples of this, you had people who were drafted to play on her team as a captain refuse to play in the tournament because they know that this shit is fake.
We'll decline then. Let me respond to her because she asked me on Discord.
1 second. Still playing 1080p for some reason. We're poor boys. We can't afford 1080p.
We'll decline then. Let me respond to her because she asked me on Discord. I'm sorry. Here you go. I officially declined with her. Now, please don't go on hating on whatever, but I don't want to associate myself with that, you know, like, especially because back then when she did it, it was the Me Too movement, and it's a very important movement. You know, women are getting mistreated and are scared of coming out with their stories and everything. So when they do come out like that and it's trending and people are trying to use the trend to get retweets and follows and whatever, it's really bad for the actual victims, because like if you're a fake victim, like you're taking away from the actual victims that finally like went on and told their stories. And like I don't hate her, but
Now, Ill Stylish, Mike Young and Dragoon, 2 other players. This happening in the league scene, of course. The league scene is kind of like just a hodgepodge of the craziest shit imaginable because they've been like this for years. It's not a big shocker that I see this happen. What's a big shocker is to see such a turnout to outright saying, nah, fam, we ain't having this. Which, congratulations, Twitch. You have found one community that has learned how to self-fucking-correct itself and does not need intervention from the big conglomerate to help them, well, plaster folk around it. But if League cultivates that kind of behavior. But that's not the point. We can get into a whole conversation about that if I ever get a video card, because now I have all the parts. All the parts are here to build the computer. I even ordered extra shit to make sure that I'll be able to go live immediately once I get it configured. My mother actually decided she wants to help pitch in with helping the solution, because now she's understanding how serious I take my job. But that's neither here nor there. That's a conversation for a different time. You have 2 case examples of individuals weaponizing their race and weaponizing their gender to abuse people on Twitch to get away with their crimes, and it's being covered up and not called out by the platform that gives them the ability to make their careers. This is the regard in which I said I agreed wholeheartedly with Zachary. Oh yes, we need to talk about these problems and just call out what the fuck it is. Because if anybody excuses what Kirkle Bard did, and if anybody excuses what your princess does, and they just decide to quietly let the situation go down, instead of doing the 5-alarm fire that they like to do whenever they think they find a real unironic mask-off white nationalist, bruh, you ain't doing enough. But you see, I am who I am. So rather than doing a 5-alarm fire screed, I'm just gonna laugh at you. Because it's dumb. Because it's ridiculous. I don't know how a person like Hassan Piker could be able to justify Critical Bard outside of the fact that he has the right politics. Or he's scared of the backlash if he doesn't do it. Or because he's jumbled all the fuck up anyways and doesn't care because you have more than enough money to be able to alleviate it from the problem. But this is the actual reality of cancel culture, my friend. The actual reality of cancel culture, when you choose to take a handoff stance to it. We're not even done with the video, by the way. I just wanted to make sure you saw this with your own eyes, so that when you go on and you spread this around and you tell people about it, you more than freely have the ability to talk about it. I'll even give you the link to it, if you'd like it. Here we go. There's a link to the tweet that I made about it. I wanted you to see it with your own eyes, so that when I said these things, again, like I proved last time, when I say that it happened, you can't say, oh no, that's not real. Yes, it is. This is the reality. This is actually what happens when people behave the way they do on this platform. This is the actual reality of cancel culture. It's not what happens in marketing. It's what happens to everyone as a whole, and the reactions that they have as individuals. It was Devin Nash himself in the toxic community gaming environment discussion that he said outright that this kind of shit is the reason why advertisers think businesses and groups are toxic. He said this back when I was playing Diablo. This is the reason why advertisers pull their sponsorships, why they pull their ads, why they don't want their ads to appear in front of certain content. Not just because they're scared of what the backlash might be, which business minds doing what they're supposed to do. It's because they see this environment and they do not know what to do until they know what side to pick. And then when we get to a situation like what we're in right now, you get the unironic mask-off behavior that you're witnessing. That's why I said that this kind of platform behaves like it's radical left. You have businesses and corporations saying, we denounce violence, we denounce hatred, when literally having stood behind people who supported rioting, supported actual insurrection, but now have decided to use linguistic fucking trickery to get you to think that it's not the same thing, or that it's somehow different, when it's tacitly not. It's just that when they do it, it's fine. When you do it, it's hatred. Unfortunately, it appears that Twitch wants to be the platform that makes my skin color into a superpower. And so if I've been given these divine rights from the company, let me be the first to say you deserve to be dragged for that. And I will join the dragnet in the first position in the front and tell you that you deserve to be mocked for it. Because the only way to deal with problems like this is to mock them. That's the only answer. When people do dumb shit like this, laugh at them in their face. And keep laughing. And never stop laughing. One way to do it is to ignore it. But ignoring these problems does not make it go away. It is metastasized. It is too big now. It is not something that's just, oh, they're nobodies that will drift into the distance. No. Shit like this affects rulings. We've seen this for a fact. It has affected rulings with people getting banned. It has affected rulings with people staying banned. It has affected rulings with people having their bans overturned. It has affected businesses. It has affected industries and how they make their money. It has affected people like me not being able to have sponsorships. Not because of the wild shit that I happen to do, because I technically keep it as quick and clean as possible. While saying unironic amounts of memes at rapid fire pace. It happens to deal with the fact that if I were to approach a company and say, hey, I'd like to work with you, I like your product, and I think you'll like what I have to offer you, what do you say? They say, I don't know, fam. I don't know. Them smash pedals be wild. I think we're gonna have to hit you up next year. Maybe you'll be safe then. Oh, wait! No, it's not. Whoop, sorry. Sorry, Carl. I don't know what to tell you. Sorry, Devin. I don't know what to tell you. Gamer's kind of wild. That's the shit that actually happens. The opportunities to move forward, to be able to see things change, go away when people are deplatformed like this. Not just in the matter of them losing their jobs and careers because of the behaviors that they had, but because of how the public perceives the problems we're dealing with. How do you think it looks when a person hears shit like that, and even knowing the context, look at the situation at Critical Bard and say, oh, why is this person not banned? Because this is unmasked. This is masked off justification. This is the same shit that happened with Stephanie Lore, where Stephanie Lore did the dumb shit that they did about the voice comms, and then with a couple of bits of digging, they found this person unironically said, no, cops are pigs. That's incitement, ma'am. That's incitement, sir. That's outright courting the things that happen to you. But nothing might happen. That's when that shit gets buried. When it's excused and normalized. That's where we are right now. That's why this shit happens. What's the answer to solve the problem moving forward? If we're not going to start saying, hey bro, we got a problem. It's not as simple as you fucking put out. It's kind of a little bit more complex than that. I'm not saying you need to be upset about this. I'm upset because I unfortunately work on this business. And if they make a ruling that fucks me second-handed because they try to overzealously solve the problem with a bad solution, I have to live with those consequences that someone else brought upon us. So what's the answer? What do we do next? Let's finish out the video. I'd like to play video games today. I didn't get to play them yesterday. The video's buffering.
Let's talk about short-term effects of cancellation. You might look at something like this, for example, which is a chart of Call Me Carson's unfollows right now, right? So this is a live chart of Call Me Carson's, like, because this is, as of this...
Oh, we're at this section. Pay attention. I can summarize this for you. He's about to explain that when people unsub from people, that's basically a fraction of a fraction of a fraction. You could say, oh no, this person's bleeding subscribers and followers. But in reality, they're losing like maybe 5% of their base. 10% of their base, sometimes even. Not anything close to what we saw with something like Pro Jared's situation. Because if we go by the words that were being given by Devin, Pro Jared is a situation where he outright came forward and said, oh yeah, this happened. I did these things. But I'm not guilty of these crimes that these two people are accusing me of. That's bullshit. That, my dude, is what we have happen all the time and every permutation in between. It's food for thought. But I need to stop talking.
This is right in the drops. This is happening today. Okay. So Carson right now has lost 13,561 followers. He has not gone live. He has a total of 1,389,011 followers. Okay. So as a percentage, he has lost 0.97% of his total follower base, which is nothing. Okay. That's absolutely nothing. Let's go to his YouTube. Because YouTube has 3.24 million and thus far has lost a little bit over 100,000 followers. So again, let's just say it's 150,000. Go to 3.24 million, which by calculation is about 4.6% of the audience. Okay. So I want to stress here just how like insignificant this is because this is what's crazy about this, man. This is like so crazy about marketing psychology. That 150,000 people are people that actively made a decision to engage with Call Me Carson. They went to his channel, they pressed the unsubscribe button. Do you think that person is interested in figuring out what happens next? Do you think they're invested in the story? Of course they are. Of course they are. The first time that an apology comes out, that there's a big stream, that is going to be the person that is there absolutely the first time. This is a concept that Activision and EA understood, that EA especially understands that you can literally make the most dogshit game over and over again. And no matter how many people say they're going to boycott it, no matter how many people say that this is the end, that audience is an incredibly minuscule percentage of the people that will actually buy it and the people that will come back to buy it again and again and again. And we see this over and over again in marketing. Boycotting doesn't work.
That's not so much true. And the reason it's not so much true is because actually the reason why it works is because they know that creators like myself, creators like Devin, streamers like myself and Devin, I don't like using the word creator, but unfortunately that's the bag that I actually fit in now. It sucks. But what they have understood is that Blizzard Activision, or Actiblizzard, because it's not Blizzard no more. It's Activision wearing Blizzard's skin like Billy the Hero was being worn by the Lich. They understand that they can make a dog shit game like Diablo 4 after making a dog shit game like Diablo 3 and the expansion for Reaper of Souls. And they know that even though they have fucked up time and time again, fucking up in the Blitzchung situation, fucking up overall with the Blitzchung situation, fucking up when it came to speaking out for the rights of people because they sent for Chinese fucking semen, loving those Chinese dollars. At the same time, they can make a dog shit game that is predicted and quite literally admitted to be in production because of leaks from a disgruntled member and trudge forward saying, oh no, there's no problem, just trust the plan, bro, trust the plan. And they know that they'll come back because those streamers will want to ride the train that comes with being an early adopter. They want to have the ability that comes with platforming and playing the game because they know it will reward them with subscribers in the end. I mean, they can have their opinions about how they feel about the business. Shit, you could be like me and unironically have the opinions that I have about Riot Games and how they choose to both treat, deal with, program for, and also promote League of Legends and all the other games that they're putting into all of these other fucking genres, like Valorant and Legends of Runeterra. You can have all these things. You can have all this shit and more. All this about that and anti-fight taxing, the whole damn thing. Yes you can. But you can still be someone that says, but bro, the game's actually fun though. That's an opinion that I hold. Because it's an actually truthful one. The game itself is not the problem. The problem is the management and the outright outrageous community that platforms the use of drama as a way to justify how a person is a good or bad person. without ever addressing how the person who's trying to drum up the drama is choosing to do so that they can distract from the really bad elements of that community. This is what happens when you let activists take control of the bullhorn. They will make excuses when it's them, and they will outright criticize and constantly... drinking too much. They will make criticized opinions, and they will attack people when it's not them, and they will make excuses to give themselves an out when it is them. It's acceptable for them to do to you, but it's not acceptable for you to do to them, because insert identity here. I don't know how pathetic you don't think it sounds when you're doing that, individual who is guilty of that, but that is pathetic. It is pathetic to say, I'm okay and it's acceptable for me to be a bigot to you because of your skin color, and at that exact same time, say Black Lives Matter! It has always been what I have said it is! You are using your righteous indignation as a sword and your skin as a shield! You deserve to be laughed at for that! You deserve to be laughed at if you hide behind your sexuality. You deserve to be laughed up for it if you hide behind your supposed clout, as though it makes you different. It is embarrassing. And yet I can still have the opinion to say I would be more than happy to play the game if they start improving problems, and have the ability to remove myself from the entire context of it, the way that Devin has here, and say I can still have the ability to support this company because I can make an informed decision as an individual making a business decision. Not so much as a principled decision. If I make it a principled decision because I say, oh no, I'm not going to support this platform, I'm not going to support people who allow for rape to happen on the campus, that's an entirely different thing. I would deserve to be mocked for that if I did that myself. All I'm saying here is have equal fucking standards, and don't be a hypocrite. That's all I'm saying here. I'm not saying Devin is a hypocrite. I'm saying in these situations that I've shown you, in examples like this that exist in the 50 billion fold, that's what happens. That's the reality of cancel culture. The very vipers who benefit from doing it create the situation and create an end game where they win no matter what. Either they're immune from it by your own admittance, Devin, or they create justifications to make it acceptable in the high-raised tyranny of a platform trying to stop negative shit from happening, but not knowing how to deal with it because they're overreacting in every situation, because they want to protect the branding and the advertisements more than actually protecting the real victims, even to go forward to do actual investigation in the problem. It takes people like me to do it for you to find out the full context. And by the time people find out the full context, if it comes from someone like me, or it comes from someone like Richard Lewis, or it comes from any person who has an official standing in the business, it's already too late. You have already embarrassed us at a world stage. That's exactly what happened with Misbehaving's ban. How the fuck can you show me examples of a woman turning around and just doing it? Just unironically turning around and pulling them pants to the side and showing the whole world her goodies. And you say, oh no, that person, 3-day ban. No problem. But then you turn around in situations like this, and you also at the same time say, oh no, no punishment at all. And then for things just as dumb as what Zach's friend did, or worse things than that look bad but aren't actually bad, count all the bans that Forson's gotten on the platform, how the fuck do you justify that in your head? What is the math breakdown on that? I'd love to know. Just saying. Let's finish.
Hating something doesn't work. It just makes it bigger. The only way to kill something is to ignore it in this society, because either a negative or positive impression creates a marketing amplifier.
You said the thing I already said, but again, I'm going to offer to you the example I just said. There's two ways to do things. You can ignore it, or you can laugh at it and mock it and incessantly mock it by all means possible. Those are the only two ways I believe. I've done more damage to the political rivals that have tried to destroy my career over the last 2 years by laughing at them to their face and constantly making them look fucking like fools than ever trying to go out and say, listen, this is what this person did to me. Here's my tell-all. Just saying.
That then goes out to the people that you don't want to hear it. The only way to kill something is to stop talking about it. But our society trains everybody to do the opposite. And so what happens is that everybody starts to talk about this issue, and the exact opposite thing happens. the haters become the fuel for the very thing they're trying to destroy. The unsubscribers don't matter. In the grand scheme of things, it's a tiny percentage, and as soon as the content starts up again, they'll be right back with them. Again, we've seen this through studies of the game industry over and over and over again. Every single person that said they're not going to buy Diablo 4 because Diablo 3 was dog shit, including myself, are going to be on that game day one because we're invested in the narrative, and it's not the individual user behavior that matters, it is the story. And as long as you're hooked on the story, you'll keep coming back to figure out what happens. We've seen this in every drama, we've seen it in every soap opera, we've seen it in every creator, and we see it here. That's what it's about, man. It's what makes this concept so interesting. It's why I want to talk about it. It's because the idea is that the crowd is just as fickle. Not only will they forget about something, but as soon as they're back again, they'll be back for it once over, like over and over again. That's how it works. So so smart people that have figured this formula out are manipulating it like crazy. And the most classic example of this that I think everybody can look to is the United States media. But there are other people like influencers that understand this as well. Some of them are our most prominent creators like Logan Paul, who just outright admits on his podcast, like he literally tells you the magic trick. He tells you exactly how he pulls the rabbit out of the hat. He quite literally says it cannot be misconstrued. I use my haters to work for me. He talks 30 minutes about this, and it's fascinating. He shows you the trick because he knows that it doesn't matter. The people that are going to be talking about him are not consuming that content. They're not looking at his podcast. They are on the outside of this blast radius. This is concept we talked about here. They're on the outside over here, right? And they're just talking about it and talking about it and talking about it. And they probably know very little of what's actually going on. Like the vast majority of people, they're call me Carson, like all these names and whatever. Not again, just like not passing judgment, but I'm just saying they probably haven't taken the time to like actually look into and like really figure out like what's going on and what information is available and make like an objective opinion. They're just like kind of tweeting into the multiverse. So the most intelligent.
I've looked into it, and I'm gonna repeat the exact same thing I said in my own breakdown. Call Me Carson is not a pedophile. It is an age range of 2 years between 19 and 17. That is not what you should mock Call Me Carson for doing. What you should mock Call Me Carson for doing is being someone who, after getting burned by Caterino, cucking him with 5 of the guys as she was going for the 7th time, what you should be doing in that situation is looking at it and saying, wow, fam, you just gonna get fucking cucked by an e-girl? And you're gonna immediately try to abuse your power structure of your 3.1 million followers on different platforms and all the money that you make and all the clout and reach that you have? You're just gonna use that on one of your fans and possibly have an imbalance of power where this person believes that they are getting a dream vacation, living with you, dating you, and you're never gonna outright say, listen guys, this is the reality here. This is the situation. Of course we know he's not gonna do that. He's not gonna come out and say, listen guys, it's not all bad what you think it is, because that's the reality of it. Technically, he has no reason to be guilty, because he has nothing to be guilty of. But I'm going to say that he's a loser for doing that, because he shouldn't have such a lacking level of quality that he's going to settle for what effectively is the lowest common denominator. I'm not saying that the fan is the lowest common denominator, meaning that they're nobody. I'm just saying, bro, that's fucking sus. That's all I'm saying. Moving on.
People, I don't know if intelligent is the right word. I think manipulative is the right word. The most manipulative people on these social media platforms have understood this and utilized this, and now they're using this intentionally in order to manipulate you. And the best thing you can do is just be aware of it. But it's a very prominent thing that, like, once you.
Oh, by the way, just because it's on my mind. Remember the situation? Well, not situation. The example. When I called out Vita Gestalt, of all people, for monetizing the smug Roku style of creating drama? Or even those of you who are in my audience who are aware of Smug Roko and the entire drama that happened because I told that woman, listen, if you want to clear your fucking name, stop hiding behind these profiles and tell yourself something honest and go before the people and say, listen, that is not me. I am not this person that you're accusing me of being. Leave me the fuck alone and go fuck yourselves, you crazy fucking creeps. You crazy fucking cretins. That is right there the perfect example. That's a perfect example of one of the people he's talking about. He's not talking about people like me. He's not talking about people like themselves. He's talking about people like Smug Roko. He's talking about people like the Cornfield. The people who have been coming after me for 2 fucking years to try and use people like myself to make money through harassment on Twitch as a platform. Those individuals can only be defeated by the 2 methods I've just laid out. He lays out the example of how the mechanics work for one of them. I'm explaining to you the reality of the other and how to use the other. Take it as a grain of salt.
Understand how this psychology works, you start to see it everywhere. You're like, oh, I'm being intentionally manipulated again. So the real, go back to cancel culture. Go into canceling yourself. If you have any sort of actual conscience, unfortunately, the people who have the most emotional, like the highest emotional quotients and the highest ethics are the most likely to be canceled by these things, because these are the people who actually care about what they're doing. You see, you'll never get through to the narcissists. The more you tell them to cancel themselves, the more they'll make content. If you talk to someone who's egoic as fuck like me, like I'm arrogant as fuck, you tell me I can't do something, I'll just do it twice as much, right? It's like if you tell me I can't eat chicken, I'll eat 3, right? Like you can't convince a narcissist to stop. But if you actually get in front of someone with high emotional, I'd say like emotional awareness, like empathy, and then you start to make them feel bad about the content they create, they'll actually slow down and stop creating. And a lot of people, this is like the real dark side of cancel culture, I think, is that a lot of people that this happens to fucking don't deserve it. Like Lily Pichu constantly gets a ton of hate, and she said so many times that she can't help but read all the Reddit comments and take that to heart, even though she doesn't deserve it.
Actually, that's not true. Lily Pichu farms for content the exact same way a couple of people do. It just so happens to be that overall, she's tried to do what she saw people like Pokimane do, and she's getting burned because it didn't work out for her. That's the reality there. Again, that's another TwitchCon trader that focuses on League, that tries to put themselves in front of that audience. She's built an entire background of having the uwu, unironic soft girl attitude, and even though she wants to have that attitude of being a big and buff boss bitch, she doesn't have the follow-through to do it. She can't do it, so it don't work. That's the truth there. You see this with somebody like Sky Williams, of course. Who remembers Sky Williams? Who remembers when people used to comment on videos of mine saying, "Damn, Carl, you look like Sky Williams"? Highest cringe, right? Because who would have thought that it would have been Sky Williams doing shit like that? I do. I guessed it. But who wants to hopefully be wrong? Who goes into situations like this hoping that they're right, that somebody's like that? Nobody does. Even though I'm highly skeptic of everything. I don't want to go in assuming that someone's evil. I'd rather be proven wrong than be proven right. But almost every single time I look at shit like this and I make a judgment on it, flippantly in a tweet or flippantly on a stream when I'm playing video games, I am always proven right. Because sadly, that's just where we live in. It's just the way it goes.
She's a fantastic creator. Pokimane adds absolutely the same thing. One of the hardest working women on this platform.
That's a lie. It's true that she works hard, but she ain't working hard. She hard at working.
Absolutely does not deserve these bullshit YouTube things to get made about her. All these things, right? But if she says it so.
Again, a lie. Pokimane definitely does deserve it, because somebody who's acting like an ice queen, while also trying to put on the identity in the front of being not someone who's concerned about her identity, she'd be with somebody that when she's accused of something like that, she say, "Hell yeah, I fucking did it, and I do it fucking again," because she knows that would get her benefit. But that's not the viewpoint she wants to put out. I'll fight you on this till the fucking nail, Devin. I don't care if you think it's wrong or not. I know for a fact. I know several creators who are like this right fucking now. And I wish to help them, but I can't because they don't want to change their attitude. So I immediately cut them out of my fucking friend circle. I cut them out of my life. And the ones who are doing good, who I can be able to talk to on a regular basis and talk about my deepest problems with, be able to help them with their own problems, work together, do business, I have no problem with those people. Because even if they're doing wild ass shit, I can still say, I know you. I understand you. I don't understand that shit over there. Look at how quickly I fucking dropped Smug Roko like a goddamn bad habit. When I demonstrated that, listen, you need to do different, and she didn't want to do different. So I said, fuck it. Here's everything you've ever done. Roast on it. I didn't care, because I did not want any part to do with it anymore. I was not going to allow someone to use my ideas, my thoughts, my opinion, and my analysis to promote a business that creates that kind of environment. I can more than happily be edgy as shit as a comedian, but I know where the line stops, and it's not a matter of being woke. It has nothing to do with being woke, because the wokeness is the death of the humor. You gotta kill it in order to make shit like this possible. We're past post-truth, my dude. We're living in the fantasy, where people think this shit's okay, but it's not. But they get away with it because no one wants to actually talk about it. Nobody wants to evaluate it. Nobody wants to go into detail. Because when they go into the details and they look at themselves and say, oh shit, I'm actually guilty of this, they don't want to present it to their audience. They'd rather talk shit about it on Twitter, and then when they have to talk about it live, talk that shit in a video and say, these people are just nad. And oh yes, that's something that somebody like Vito Gestalt's guilty of. Because Vito Gestalt did shit like that. Vito Gestalt deleted tweets where they were proven wrong that Borderlands 3 on the Epic's Game Store was fucking spyware, running a virtual machine with a 2 megabit upload limit, that if it fell below that, it disconnected your game and was monetizing and was farming and mining your data. He outright deleted the shit and admitted to deleting it because, lol, I don't want to give them clout. I called him out about it. He got mad as fuck and decided to try and ignore it, blocking my account for years on end, and only unblocked it when I outright shown, because people keep showing me shit, because that's the kind of creator I am. They showed me that they were talking massive shit about the Koof relief bill, and said, oh, you should be upset and mad now because shit like that happened. No, the time to be upset about COVID relief was not when they decided to hand you $600 that used to spend like $300, but is now spending like $200 because the bill has increased the inflation amount because they have been printing money since March and have decided to give you $600 after they monetized your asses for $2,700, took out $2,100 and sent it overseas and handed you $600 like it would have changed the fact that you either lost your job or was unfairly attacked in some manner that affected your personal business. You shouldn't have been mad when they handed you the money. You should have been mad when Pelosi and McConnell were bouncing it back and forth. But Vito Gestalt and people like that aren't going to tell you that truth. They'd rather you be doom-pilled. They'd rather you be black-pilled and go out and do riots and tell you to go do violence. While they sit at home sipping on their fucking dessert while you lose your life and won't even have the fucking temerity to celebrate it when you die. Him, Richard Spencer, Nick Fuentes, who made a big killing during the fucking, riots happening on Capitol Hill. People like that exist in every part of the business. Your head would spin if you knew the shit that I knew. But what can you do about it if you don't have the platform to do it? Realistically, I'll give you the answer to that. What you could do is you can retweet streams like this. You can retweet and make clips of it. And you can put those things out there and popularize them. Because if you think that somebody's solid on their fucking judgment and that they're able to talk about the problem fully, openly, and will break it down for you step by fucking step, technically, I'm unironically being a political explainer right now. But I need you to know. Because I don't want you to just go out there completely getting clapped out by people who walk you in circles because they talk in these speech patterns that only are recognizable in inner circulars that are as insular and echo chambery as the progressive left, as they spiral ever so regressively backwards. I need you to be informed. I don't want you to look at this shit and think, what the fuck do we do now? Don't get discouraged. Get angry. But then when you're done being mad, get organized. That's how you deal with the problem. That's how you can understand how to counter it. That's how you deal with that problem there. We'll finish now.
Affected by it. Why? Because these are actually emotionally intelligent, put together human beings who have an ethic. Like, the people that are going after these people are trying to destroy the people that are actually doing a lot of good work in many cases. They're not actually going after the narcissists who deserve to be taken down in any productive way. They're just shouting at those people, and those narcissists are farming them, literally farming them into these hate groups that then go after legitimate content creators. It's the most unfortunate and sucky part of all this. It's what bothers me the most, right? And I remember when I was running esports teams back in the LCS days, we had players that would go on Reddit in tears. They would go on our League of Legends, they would read people posting things about themselves, and they would not want to play anymore. And a lot of them actually quit because they just couldn't take that heat. So the people that actually end up getting canceled are the ones that are ironically the ones that are actually willing to fucking self-improve a lot of the time, because they're the ones. It's not to say that like offering legitimate criticism to somebody isn't productive, but like most of the influencers that these groups of people are targeting know what they're doing wrong. I'm talking about the ones that are like, you know, that are deserving of this. And furthermore, are the sort of people that actually have a decent degree of ethics and are willing to apply that to try to change to be better people. That's the people we're actually canceling, because those guys have enough, those people have enough of a feeling to actually respond to it, which sucks. Like, we should be canceling the Spurg Lords. We should be canceling the people that are causing the problems, but instead we're canceling the people that are actually at the forefront of trying to make them better in a lot of cases. And yeah, it's just really unfortunate. I want to talk about this real briefly. We put an enormous amount of burden on influencers on Twitch and YouTube in particular. I often say that, like, I'm a little bit lucky that I skipped a generation or two on the way to the internet. Because if you guys knew me when I was 16 to 20, I'd be canceled 100%. I got thrown out of public school because of fighting, right? That I can talk about now. But, like, I know a lot of people in my friend group that's the exact same way. Because to expect these 19-year-old content creators, or 20 or 21 or 22, not to spurn anybody specific, but like to expect us like a 22-year-old content creator to suddenly be a Zen master who is befit of a position to lead tens of thousands of people responsibly is asinine. And the amount of forgiveness that we afford to these people is laughable in the face of the fact that the vast majority of people that are casting those stones could not even do so in their own houses because they would break the glass therein. Another way to say that is that the people that are accusing them are just as bad, if not worse. And they get away with it because they're anonymous, yet we hold these 20-year-old creators to these enlightened principles that we ourselves as a society don't follow. And
That's not exactly true. The actual truth there is that he's talking about people who are anonymous faces on the internet who just talk wildly. He's talking about the Captain 8 caps. He's talking about the 24 them, they, demisexual, queer individuals who have decided to go mask off during the most recent happenings and are the demonstrated reason why a couple of people, you saw the tweet that I made, are painting their fucking, I'll show you right now actually, are painting their profiles with pronouns and with flags, hoping that it won't get them canceled. Where is that tweet? I know I made that tweet. Right here. There are people right now who are putting shit like this in their bios. Not because they believe in it, but because they know it'll keep them safe. It is wild! Wild! That is a concept they're working on. You can't quite see it, actually. Hold on. Probably got to make it slightly larger. No, actually, probably what I put on the other screen. Hold on. Unfortunate. I have to do it live, ladies and gentlemen. I gotta fucking put it live. Yes, Dankiller did put the rainbow flag in his bio and get verified, but that had more to do with the fact that Marcus Meechan is an individual who's been known on the internet for longer than most because they have never been letting him live or leave existence because they do nothing but harass him. I think this one will be a better view here. Hold on. There you go. Now you can see it. I care more about you saying this than me having the ability of putting together a proper put together stream. But yes, you got people out here doing shit like this, hoping that they will be left the fuck alone if they protect themselves against this kind of crazy. You cannot tell me that that is normal. That is not normal, but it's been normalized. And because it's been normalized, it's gonna keep going. It's gonna keep going until somebody says to you, shut the hell up. You don't deserve to be mad. You are worse than you think you are. And unless it's people like me saying it, because of the superpower of being black, even though I'm multiculti and very much diversified through my blood, until you have people like me saying it, so that other people feel comfortable to defend themselves against this craziness, you're not gonna have the ability to fight back against it. By no means. It's not gonna fucking happen. It's not gonna go fucking happen. Let's not kid ourselves. Let's not joke. It will not happen. As long as people think that they can get away with it, they will keep doing it. So, again, my suggestion is that if you think you want to see someone succeed that can help you protect yourself and inform you of the real shit, will break it down for you and will clearly point out and say, nope, I disavow. If you're not going to fucking promote individuals, if you're not in this position right now, where you're looking at the people who are being deplatformed by businesses like YouTube, Twitch, and the like, the main air square of where all the normal people are, while at the same time they're saying dumb shit like this, if you're not a creator who's working to do crossover content with other people, and you're not setting up to do shit, to work together, to ensure that all of you secure the bag, you are going to be part of the problem. If not, you're going to be left behind. That's my opinion on that. If you do not work together, you are going to be silenced by the corporate media, because they do not like people like me. They don't like people who give people context. They don't like people who don't get mad and instead explain, okay, you think you should be mad about this, but let me tell you what's actually happening. They do not like people like me, because I deflate balloons. The sound of as you lose the ability to be mad about it, and someone actually brings back, wait, no, they're actually right. Actually, no, that's a really serious point. Oh my God. That only happens when you give yourself the ability to do so. For a while, I wasn't making shit because I did not want to, nor did I know how to proceed forward. But I gave myself a pep talk, and I sat down and I said, you know what? If this is how it's going to be, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to make sure that every single person who has to look at it is going to see it the way that I see it. Because people don't see shit the way that I see it. Sometimes I tweet shit, and people do not actually pay attention. They just think, oh, Yeah, that's a funny thing. But then something happened and it's like, oh my god, no, how did this happen? I don't know how to help people like that. So instead, I'm just going to do my thing. And if they want to recognize it, cool. If they don't, that's cool too. But if I see those people come around and say, come on, Carl, give me a shout out, I'm going to laugh in your face. Because you're part of the problem. Because you're allowing it to happen to yourself. And when I tell you, hey, now is the time that you need to act. Now is the time you need to fight back. Now is the time you need to fucking use your voice before they take it from you. And you just sit there silent, hoping that I'll do it for you. I don't know how to help you. I just don't know how to. It's not a meme, it's not a grift, it's not a post. It's not me being upset at my fans. It's something that I think about all the goddamn time, just as much as Devin does. I wish I knew how to embolden the people who are losing their minds right now and going doomer pill. But I cannot help you if you do not help yourself. I can give you all the advice I can, but it doesn't fucking matter if you sit there on your hands. Alright, now let's finish. I think I said everything I need to say.
They feel so bad about what they're doing that they quit, and they never become the actualized individuals that they ought be to actually properly lead a movement like that. So what this ends up doing, what this like mob of people ends up doing, is setting fire to the people who are in the development of becoming those actualized enlightened people to be able to lead people the right direction. And on the other side of it, encourage narcissists, people deliberately manipulating you, and malevolence to thrive, because those are the people that can get around and not be affected by it. When a good person who feels bad about themselves already, who has imposter syndrome about being successful, gets 100 negative comments to die in a fire because of something they just tried to create that was cool, that person wants to stop creating forever. I can speak personally to that because I've been that person. I've also worked with those people for many, many years. Thank God I'm enough of an arrogant ass
Facts.
to still be here today doing this, because I can be here and give these talks, because holy shit, if I felt even a little bit more empathetic, I might actually listen to those fuckers. And then who knows
Facts.
where I'd be. Probably just running my business on the side, because I don't need the money here, and most of them don't either. They're creative enough, skilled enough, whatever, or already earned that kind of income, they don't need it. And then there would never be a voice, right? If I listened to everyone like that. So I don't know what I hope to accomplish by this. I think that there's nothing to accomplish, because this is just going to be like, this is just going to go forever. This is it. This is the society as it stands right now. But I just think it's really interesting that the actual mechanics, when we sort of break apart how this works, operate the opposite of how everybody thinks they work. And it's one of the most interesting things to consider, that the morality, I'm going to say this. Yeah, this is quite a talk. I hope we're having fun. So here it comes. Okay, the most ironic thing about all this is that cancel culture stands on the foundation of ethics and morality. That everybody that comes out and takes arms up against people thinks that they're doing the highest moral and ethical good. They think that by taking down these influencers, they're defeating evil, literally, right? And they're so virtuous in their tweets and their blog posts and their React videos and their LSF threads. They're so virtuous to this, and they're so prideful in their ability to take down evil. You want to know the real way to take down evil? It's not to go out and bitch about stuff that you can't change anyway and amplify all the messages of hate that you're inadvertently trying to stop, supposedly. It's to actually go out there and you yourself create something of value. If you want to defeat evil in this world, add more good. Be someone that actually takes action and goes out there and creates something meaningful and of value to other people. And through that, you will convert people to watching, to consuming, and to absorbing things of value instead of mindlessly following drama and creating more suffering in their lives than others. If you want to defeat evil, actually go do something. The problem is that it's easy to sit in anonymity and complain and bitch, and then take that as a point of pride that you're doing something productive, you're moving society forward. Where like almost nobody, and like now there are people that we legitimately need to call out. And I think one of the positives that came from the summer 2020 movement of Twitch was that a lot of women who were really scared for a long time got to speak their mind because they just had the social support to do so, the cushion to do so. And as a result, I think the gaming industry.
I'd like to stop on that for a second. The problem was not that they didn't have the ability to do so. It's that they feared that people would mock them unfairly for things that you yourself have already covered, saying that this is not a reality of. I talk about this myself a lot. And that is that people don't actually want to be the first one to do a thing because they don't want to be the person who quite literally gets a movement, gets an idea, gets a concept shut down and ignored because they're not the person who needs to be the one to say it. It is why, more often than not, the people who are put forward as the face of a movement is a woman, and is a woman who has been scorned, if not a literal female child, like Greta Thunberg. And as you've probably seen, Greta Thunberg has turned 18. She's a dropout from school who has no education past what she already received in middle school, and has been trying to get people to sign on to the ideas of climate change, because how dare you take my future away from me? The exact second she turned 18, they replaced her for a new model. That, my friend, is the negative side of that business, where there are people who don't actually have arguments and ideas and can be able to extrapolate the ideas, but instead people who hide behind a figurehead to lead their movement. You'll see this a lot with the radical left, especially when you're talking about somebody like Vosh Yorhans, a literal figurehead who is made popular because people have made him popular by giving him attention. That is a person whose popularity is spiraling out of control because they want to be bigger than they are, but don't have things to add to the conversation except being a mouthpiece for the chuds to be mocked through. And through being that figurehead that emboldens that base, they continue to grow that individual basis and then can grow that platform to then continue platforming that behavior. We know for a fact that this is why that happens, because June Lapine wouldn't switch from being a 2014 lol so random female YouTuber who claims to be the side of somewhat of the skeptosphere, and then immediately becomes somebody who becomes a socialist and is trying to devout people like Short Fat Otaku in her mentions and in her Discord, despite being involved in situations where they are being called out for being hypocrites. Something like that doesn't happen without the very thing that Devin is telling you here happening. But at the same time, it's not because people finally took it serious because finally women were able to speak their voice. It's because everyone was able finally to be emboldened. And sadly, in some cases, some men, like myself, were outright laughed at, and only when someone else came along and said, no, shut the fuck up, you're gonna listen to them, did they shut the fuck up and listen to people. What needs to happen there is that people have to work together, like I just said, and they have to help each other. Because if nobody helps each other and they act as selfish as they have, as you said in your own June video, we might watch that next time, just so that people have the backwards context. Because it is an hour, but be that as may. The only thing that it did was that it lifted a general prevalence veil that it was finally acceptable and okay to do it. Because some people didn't want to seem like they were a drama queen when they did it. That's the real answer there. Some people didn't want to feel like a drama queen. Some people know that bitching about a problem over and over and over and over again doesn't actually help you. It actually can hurt you. Because if you have a talk like I'm having with you right now about shit like this, somebody can go back and say, but weren't you the person who said that you were harassed by this person and you made like 50 billion tweets about it? That kind of shit happens. That kind of face-off, Sweet Beans 99, Manic Pixie Nightmare Girls behavior from people like Mallory, Jessica Uchisas happens when a person thinks that it's okay to do shit like that. Because in the same breath that you have somebody like Mallory say, it's so great that Poods got fucking robbed in fucking, what was it? It was literally in December, but it came out on January. But in January of last year. It's such a good idea that he got robbed. Wasn't it so good? But at the same time, you're posting pictures that are written with an actual reference to the literal Blix art store that you're stealing art supplies from. Suddenly, it's unacceptable for you to be mocked by your same standards. What a shock! I think I've talked myself out now.
Actually took a step back and was like, you know what? We need to be way more vigilant of this. And going forward, I think that enacts positive change. That was an example of cancel culture done right, IMO. Was when a lot of people...
And that is true, Snake. I will say that. Also, I agree with you, Negro. Going doom or pill is easier than standing up for yourself because it's why people do it. Nobody believes that they're going to be the ones that are believed and listened to because look at all of what we see here and all of possible what we could possibly deal with. It's just not possible. When you look at when you think about it, you're looking not at a single person or at a group of people behind a banner, but you're looking through an entire mindset of humanity. And when you look at that problem through the viewpoint of something that you're seeing, like this, there's nothing you can really do. Because you just can't. How do you fight people who are just behaving in the base instinct? Whereas, yes, I know what this person said, I have the lie they said, I have the lie they told in the stream, I have the archive of the lie, I have this and this and this and this and this and this and this. It's much easier to fight a person than to fight a behavior and an ideal. The only way to fight a behavior and an ideal is to criticize the behavior and the ideal. And move on and keep doing it. There's nothing you can do outside of that. You just have to quit, literally put blinders on and be single-minded in your assault. But until you have people who are proliferating your ideals, the way I hope that my audience will do, how do you act against that? And at the same time, there are people who believe that they'll be able to stay out of sight and out of quiet until they can get away with it. That's what happened with the two people who've been harassed. Well, technically, I say two, but technically four. But it's two sides of a thing, right? You have what I'm going to call the cornfield, which is the individual who's guilty of this. Quote me on it. Clip it if you need to. Actual Papa Bird Jake himself, his girlfriend, Sarah, Legend of the Phoenix, their partner, not Hannah Jake, formerly Hugo, now Hannah, after their transition, and that person's partner, Hannah's partner, Baja Blast, something, numbers, I don't remember, tried to accuse me of just making up clout for a situation, when they are literally guilty by all accounts and degrees. They've believed that they'd be able to hide, but me talking about it makes them scared, because they know I have the evidence of it. When they tried to come at me, and I just posted the fucking proof, they couldn't keep the fucking mask on in front of their audience, because they know that they have nothing. They can't talk back against something that's literal documentation of the behavior, because it happened on a live stream. People don't have the kind of long-ass memory that I do, because I have a dead memory. But it is what it is. Excuse me one second. I am literally screaming. I was hearing my mother screaming in the background. I had to address that really quick. But, where was I? Oh yes. When you have a person trying to attack you, it's much easier to deal with the person than it is an idea. To deal with the idea concept of somebody trying to stay out of sight, you have to bring them into sight. You have to drag them kicking and screaming with you to deal with the problem. If you're somebody like Devin, you can just simply go on a stream and talk about a problem and just be like, hey guys, I know this thing's happening here, but let me tell you about what's actually happening on the side of the industry, because you can do that. He's an industry streamer, and technically, I'm in the position of now becoming an industry streamer. Talking about problems that affect a platform, not just how it personally affects me or how it personally affects my business. You can look at this and make decisions and make choices that can help affect your own ability to gain and to move and grow. But outside of that, how the hell can you be able to do anything if you're just low information, you don't understand what's going on, you have no further context, and there's no streamer that's giving you a full breakdown. Okay, here's what you need to know. Here's the details. Here's the shit. Here's the fucking draw. Like, here's the da 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 da. If you don't have somebody to do that for you, you're basically going up shit paddle, or going down shit waterfall rather, without a fucking paddle on the creek. If you fall down the fucking waterfall, you're gonna feel in a free fall and not know what to do next. This is what you do. But if you're not following me, if you're not watching right now, how do you get that knowledge? I can't hope that people will go out and find the knowledge of their own accord. I wish that they would, and that's just not how the internet works. It's not. I'm so sorry that it's not. I wish it was better. But the only thing that'll help me do that is to grow my clout. Unironically. Growing my clout and making myself better, which is the reasons why I've made the podcast. So that rather than having just general talks about this, we can have it over an entire conversation. I can invite people who are in that know. They can promote it, and they promote me, and I promote them, and we work together. We talk about this shit. We laugh about this shit. We make jokes about it. We're able to fucking talk about the shit on an open basis, where it's not just covered and ignored because somebody has a benefit to do so. When I do that, it will help everybody together, because everybody will be informed. Nobody can say, well, we don't know the deeper context, so we have to wait. No, you ain't gotta wait. Carve it. Top down. That's what I said when I said it in my update video on Christmas Eve. I don't want to have to wait for someone else to tell my story for me. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of people lying in general, but I'm more tired of people out there not knowing what to do next. I can show you the path. I can't push you up it. I can't make you ready for it, but I can tell you, here's what you're gonna have to do. What you do next decides that. Now let's finish the fucking video. Dear God.
Who had been
I
legitimately
didn't think I would talk this
slighted,
much.
hurt, or abused by power dynamics and circumstances of just terrible circumstances, were able to have a voice. And we should always allow for that, because speaking for the United States specifically, our system of law has no real recourse to being able to handle that kind of stuff. So like we've seen over and over again, even internationally with people like Sweden, who have talked about stalking situations, that they're just like, without that social pressure, the police station wouldn't even answer calls, right? There's just so and there's many people that have talked about this. So these are the kind of stories that need to come out. What I don't want to have happen is this sort of blatant like mob mentality of just burning down anything out of any kind of like manufactured outrage to actually silence those voices, right? When we like it's the old adage of the boy who cried wolf, right? Is that like when the real injustice happens, we want to be there for it. And luckily, in the summer of 2020, when all that information came out about women who were legitimately abused in scenarios like this, there was a voice for it. But if you keep abusing and manipulating the minds of the people into these like this drama and manufactured outrage, people will start to become desensitized to it, and then you won't get anything besides like the response of sort of a low tier, low intellectual audience that is just attached to that drama like a lamprey, like a fucking like one of those fish on the whale, right? Just sucking it like a parasite. That's the right word. Rather than actually a person who's engaging with it because they want to enact change. And I think what happened in the 2020 thing was that there was a lot of people involved in that who were actual change makers. There was a lot of people that went out to reform their policies in their companies, pay more attention to these things. A lot of convention goers and people who were more conscious about running those conventions and like started to debate things that are really important. Like, should we have alcohol like in the way that we do? Are we making sure that people get safe rides home? Like, are there support networks in place to handle people who may not have that kind of those resources themselves? A lot of those important questions got asked as a result of that, because it was the change makers that were paying attention to that narrative and then decided to enact positive results or positive outcomes. But so insofar as you desensitize people by putting out malicious bullshit about people, it doesn't matter. You're gonna attract that lowest common denominator, and those people will eventually, the people that actually make any kind of change will eventually leave and just try to make change on their own. And I think that's the danger of like where cancel culture is moving with a lot of these subjects. So we want to create enough space to allow legitimate voices to be heard. And I think that if I was going to say anything like as sort of a last thought, it's that every single person has the individual ability to understand how this works, and then we have the beautiful ability to consciously step outside of the story and say, you know what, I'm not going to be affected by that anymore. Or I'm going to personally research and do everything that is possible objectively to understand the situation and have a fair and balanced opinion of it. For every one person that does that, we move up a little bit. And that's what's so cool about it. It's like there's a really good quote by Musashi that says, be in this world, but don't be of it. I really love that. I think there's many people that are of this world, that they follow everything. Their emotions drop and rise based on like the latest like Twitch streamer drama or like YouTube drama or anything that's happening, and they're kind of almost puppeteered by this like marketing outrage. And I know it because like I'm a marketer. That's what I do all day. It's all I do is think about this stuff. And I know how much people get influenced and manipulated by this. But the most powerful thing to realize is that you have a choice. You can actually step back from it and you can say, okay, this is the point where I go forward and make my own decisions. For every single person that does that, we raise consciousness a little bit. That's my talk. I really think this is a very interesting marketing concept. And hopefully, like explaining all this in the way that we did structures it in such a way that it gets you to think about how this works differently.
I'm about to end it here for a second. I might go live later with video game talks, but I want to leave you on this last thing. That thing that he just said there is something that happened in June of last year concerning the people who supposedly took the accusations of sexual harassment seriously, because that was the tweet that was made. I'll show you the tweet on screen, and that will be the last thing I say, and we will sign out for that. I think I had it already there. Nope, that's not it. I think this is the one that says it. That's it. No. This one. I hate my stream sometimes. There we go. All right. So, here is what happened. This is not sized correctly. There we go. So, this is what happened back in June of last year. If you did not know, let me tell you now. Lollipops accused Witwicks with literally no evidence, no police reports or anything in the month of June, and on June 22nd, I made a take that was addressing the fact that this was done because she accused him of having been harassed in 2016. Twitch made an announcement at the same time saying, "We take accusations of sexual harassment and misconduct extremely seriously. We're actively looking into the accounts and concerning streamers affiliated with Twitch and will work with law enforcement where applicable. We are thankful for the bravery shown by those who have come forward to speak about their experiences. We are committed to working to make sure that the streaming community is safer for everyone." At the same time, Lollipops made an accusation on June 19th, 2020. "I was sexually harassed by a larger streamer in Los Angeles in 2016, where she goes on to say that this was Witwix. I was told by my boyfriend at the time what happened. I told my boyfriend at the time what happened, and he convinced me that it was my fault. Why didn't you stand up for yourself? Why didn't you lead him on? And this made me terrified to come forward. And then, I have on screen for you, which I'm going to put on the second browser and blow up larger because it's kind of hard to see. I have on screen for you factual evidence that was presented by Witweeks in his own fucking stream of the literal fucking car ride that Lollipops was given to go home from the hotel where he and her were found. Literally, Witwix kept the receipt of the $27.51 charge to give her a fucking Uber to leave when she wanted to have the hot feelings but then got cold feet about it, and he said, "Oh, no problem, no issue. Here you go, let me get your ass home." And his reward for that was to be accused as a rapist! Because it's easier than admitting that she was wrong. This was covered in his tweet. This was covered by the news at the time. Do you know what they rewarded him with? You can probably guess. What happened was that when accosted by this, because this is something that not only I looked at, but also my friend Amy looked at. She claimed that she didn't care if he had receipts of Ubers. There were so many Ubers ordered from the house that night. I don't want to defend myself anymore. I'm not going to. I don't care if he has receipts to defend himself. This person outright said, "I don't care if he's proving himself honest. I want to no longer talk about it because I told my side and you should believe me." This is why I care so passionately about this. For those of you who don't know, I have sexual problems of my own, where I've been accosted by people who betray unfairly for my fucking trust. But I don't talk about them because they're not necessary. It's not relevant. The shit happens because people don't have self-respect. They don't want to have the accountability that goes towards it. Fortunately, Witwix made a paste bin telling their side of the story so that people could be able to hold them accountable. Sadly, I didn't make an archive of this, so I hope that it still fucking works. It looks like it still does. Here we go. "I don't know how to sum up 18 months of abuse in a tweet, and Word doc, in a text or even out loud. I don't know how to describe the amount of manipulation, gaslighting, and psychological abuse I endured. It embarrasses me how pathetically attached to someone I was now that I have nightmares of ever seeing again. Won't be a clean way of telling this story. It won't be easy to follow. It'll be raw emotion. After seeing Lorian come forward, I believed her. I reached out to her, and she was very supportive, telling me only to share my story when I was comfortable. I kept this out last night when I was unable to sleep with these memories racing through my head. Today, Jen came forward. I believe her too. I stand with these two women. Without them, I would not have the guts to post this. I stand with any woman who has been harassed by this man. I met Witwix. Blah, 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 blah. This thing goes on for a while. If you want to read it for yourself, you can do so. Because this, my friend, is exactly how shit like this fucking happens. You get shit like this, where people think that this shit is supposed to matter. Where they tell these stories that can actually outright be disproven by a goddamn piece of evidence. And sadly, when it happens, like it happened here, you can have a person tell a full story about how they were harassed, how this thing just fictionally affected them. And months away from it, it can just fucking appear. This is a perfect case example of exactly what they was talking about. This is exactly the shit that Devin's talking about. Unfortunately, I'm somebody who cares enough about this kind of lies because I don't like liars. That it affects me personally. I don't like when people do shit like this. Not just because I am a sexual victim myself, but because I understand what happens when you use the prevariance of being a victim to get things to work out in your favor. It's not fucking good. It's just not fucking good. It should never happen. You should never feel like that's okay. It's not good. But it happens anyways. Because no one's going to hold them accountable. I hate to say that it's because they're women, but unironically, it's because they're women. That's the honest truth of it. They're women. They're crying. They're on a platform that will set for them. Time and 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 time again. Platforms will sit for them. They will protect them from any fucking judgment. Because harassment is criticism, and criticism is harassment. When it's the wrong person doing it, or the right person doing it. And wildly, you think to yourself, how is it possible that such a platform could exist like this? How? How could it possibly be that people are stummed up in drama? I can tell you right now, it's not LFS's fault. It's not Livestream Fail's fault. Livestream Fails is a part of the symptom. It's not the solution, and it's certainly not the cause. That's what happens when people who care about the culture being invaded by people who choose to take advantage of it to make themselves more popular, or put in front of the camera, and given an opportunity to effectively lie through their fucking teeth. That's the reason why that happens. That's why. There's no reason for this to happen, but it does. Because people do not pay close enough attention as they think they do. The solution, my friend, is to laugh. Laugh really, really hard. Point in their face, and when it happens, laugh in their face with the evidence in your hand, and when people say, oh, that didn't happen, keep slapping them in the face with the evidence. We've unironically gotten to the point where in social media, you have to protect your sanity, rather than trying to say that you care about supposed free speech. But you should care about free speech. But what I'm saying there is, we've gotten to the point that when a person comes to your stream, comes to your tweet, comes to your platform, comes to your Discord, and you know for a fact they have no intention of talking about reality, do not listen to them. I have actually a flowchart for this. It's not the only thing I use, but I think I have it there in my mentions, that I can be able to pull it up. I hope I do. I don't think I've made that many media tweets. But some people have been seeing me post this, and I want to go over it really quick before I go offline, because it's advice that I think everybody here should have. It's probably the most important thing you could do, in general. I need to find it. Anime titty, anime titty, anime titty, TikTok, TikTok, anime titty, anime titty, anime titty. Where is it? By the way, while I'm doing this, go ahead and feel free to ask questions if you feel that you would like to. At this time. I will take questions. Questions and answers. And no, I am not on coke. I just really love being able to be in a position like this that I can actually do things to solve these problems. It's not often that I get to do so. But, just saying. Just saying. Ah, found it. I need to put up the screen. Okay. Go capture. We're number 2. Not that. This one. Is there any way that this round is getting clawed back? Yes! Every single time that I make a talk like this, retweet it to every person who you care to listen, and keep doing it every single time. Whenever you see any person who creates shit that you choose to support, do your best to support them in every single endeavor that they do, and make it possible to do so. But, really quick, I want to show you to this. It is a link to a picture that I use as a flowchart about how I choose to engage with people on the internet. 1 second. I'll post this in chat so everybody can get a link to it. Our repair person is here, so give me 1 second. 1 second, I'll be right back. One second, chat. Working on it. Okay, I'm back. So, this chart. I had to talk to the repair person for a second. I had to grab my mask and run outside. But this chart is a chart of how I handle internet discussions and how I've always handled them, but how I'm going to be handling them going forward. I am not going to have a discussion with a person who wants to tell lies and talk about shit that's not relevant to a conversation because they think that they're winning some kind of fight. I'm not going to argue with those people. I'm not going to give them an excuse to do anything. This is the outline of the discussion. You're not going to include shit that was outside of the discussion because you want to try and make a point about something else irrelevant to the point that you're making. You're not going to add extra information that exposes you and makes you look stupid. If you're proven wrong about a thing, you're going to move past it, and you're going to talk about the actual reality we're living in. If you violate the rules of this flowchart, I'm going to block you. I'm going to mute or block you. Usually I prefer muting, because when a person behaves like this, it's easier to ignore them. But if they make a big stink about, oh my god, you're not listening to me, that's when I'll block them. This is something I'll do moving forward for a very long while. I don't know how long I'll have to have this policy, because I prefer talking to people. I use social media because I want to see other people's opinions, but I'm not about to let people use me as a font for their anger. If you want to be mad because I'm right, then be mad that I'm right, and then choose to improve your own self. Don't get mad that I'm not going to support the idea that you want to deplatform people out of existence because you don't like the fact that they voted for someone differently. Or that they don't agree with your personal politics, and they happen to be black, so you have to think of a way to fuck your brain up in order to justify canceling them, not because of their skin color, but because of something else entirely different. I'm not having it. I'm not having it. Not here, not now, not ever. I don't care who does it. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's friend, foe, enemy, or political rival. If a person's wrong about a thing, they're wrong about it. If they're right about it, they're right about it. If they're right and they're outright 100% correct, I'm going to support that no matter fucking what. And if they're unfucking hinged because they've decided to base the way that they look at the world based on a political football, I'm not supporting that. Period. Sorry I had to run outside really quick, but that is the end now. More questions, more comments, more concerns. I'll be here for a little bit longer than before, but I actually have to supervise over what's happening outside my house right now. So, we'll talk about it. Cue that intro, Paul! I'll let you quiet this a little bit. I don't know if this is obnoxiously loud, but, you know, it is what it is. So, comments, questions, concerns. Let me hear them. I probably have to do my hair more. I can feel spots that I didn't pick out all the way. A lot of talking I had to do today. And no, it is not because of the alcohol that I'm just wiling out of fucking mind. It's just because of what it is. Hey! Hi, Amber. Right, just at the fucking end. What is my personal strat for dodging the black pill? Motivation. Pure, raw-dogged motivation. Every single time I wake up in the morning, I ask myself, after I'm finished hawking up the black lungs of whatever demon tried to possess me in the night, I ask myself, what can I do today that I didn't do yesterday? And how can I improve myself today so I'm a better person tomorrow? That's what I ask myself. What work haven't I done that I can do now, that I can hope that I can do to ensure that I can secure not just my own platform tomorrow, but help somebody who needs it, however they need to hear the words. Because it's weird to think, even as small as I technically still am, that I've come this far in technically a year and a half, but 2 years of time. And I've had everything from people trying to dox me, fail unsuccessfully, to people trying to antagonize me, unsuccessfully, to people trying to deplatform me, unsuccessfully, and all of that being made possible because of viewers like you, Snake. That's my personal strat. I think, who in my audience can I try to help to do things with? It's no problem, Amber. I can't ever be mad at you. Even if I tried to, you just stand over me and pat me on my fucking afro. Unfortunately, until I find a new job, I can't really be able to deal with the problem. Even if I tried to, you still slap the shit out of me. People trying to dox others to get ahead actually is really depressing. It is. But you would be fucking flabbergasted to know how much often that actually happens. Why is my camera out of focus? There we go. You'd be surprised how often that happens. It'd make your fucking head spin. It is so common. And yes, you're actually right, Amber. You and I know this personally because of the background we actually have, especially concerning the All-American Stream team. But effectively, what doxing has become on the internet is someone's way of trying to make somebody suffer by putting their information out there for no other reason because they really want somebody to do something for them, but they're too much of a coward to do it for themselves. So when somebody puts together the information for a dox, they then post it and say, hey, I didn't do this, but here's this information if you wanted to have it. So what you see with individuals like Heather Ontos, or any official in any business ever, they'll stand behind the idea of saying, oh no, it's wrong to do harassment, but this time, it's okay. It's dumb. I don't like it, period. And yet at the same time, I unironically have somebody who's trying to stalk and also dox me, because I unfortunately defended one of my personal friends that I've made here. And that person is somebody who I've had to give information over to the official authorities of what I had on them, because it took me 5 seconds to figure out who they were. And instead of, like, trying to dox them. I said, listen, leave this person alone. If you don't leave them alone in 5 days, I'm going to hand this information to the authorities, and then it's out of my hands. They didn't do what I told them to do. They tried to harass a transgender person, they tried to harass 3 women, and they tried to harass myself and another man. And I said, alright, have fun. As I don't have to deal with it. I don't have the energy. I don't want to expend the energy. They don't deserve it. The person who really feels that they need to win a war that I don't feel like fighting, because I know that war doesn't go anywhere, and they were personally wronged by a person that they're trying to harass. No, you do not know this person. This is somebody who I've met recently. I only wish it was somebody still coming after me personally. That'd be Renfamous. Renfamous kind of can't deal with any problems right now. She's kind of too busy still screeching after, you know, the ghost of Comicsgate. I don't think I've told you about that, Amber. Next time I actually have to tell you about that. The next time I see you, at least. I won't remember, so you're gonna have to tell me and remind me. I've had so much on my plate. Oh my god. Anybody else? Any other questions? Any other comments? Any other concerns? I know. Trust me, I was surprised that you chose to go on the grave shift, because usually I was the one working the grave shift. Now I feel like you miss more than I do. I kinda wish I could go back. Even though I was not having fun on all those late night shifts working at Waffle House, I wish I could go back, you know? For obvious reasons, but I just wish I could go back in general. Also, the repair person's at the door. Give me 1 second. Mother, again, I am literally next to the... Can I have the carpenter talk to his people and then they will come back to you? They're gonna give you... What else did you need? Ah! 1 second. Alright, he's aware of and knows about the refrigerator now. Call him. Mother, stop. Mother, stop. Call him. He just got in the car. This is why you don't ask me things while I'm streaming. Thank you. No, mother. I'm streaming. Ah! The desk is here, ladies and gentlemen! Also, I had to handle a couple of things. Ah, fucking Christ. This is what happens when people try to ask me things while I'm trying to deal with my own business. Alright, I am back, everyone. Give me a second, I need to catch up. Ugh. Oh god. Please, no. Stream chat is not operating well. Do not want to link to the channel month. Thank you. Please close that. Drag this out of frame, don't I? Yeah, I do. There we go. Alright, let me scroll up. I'm out of questions. I'm in the Discord anyways. Did I miss a question? No. Hey Carl, glad you were able to stream despite what you were dealing with in the video. I'm glad to, Wonder. Thank you. I am appreciative of every single person who's been supportive of me up to this point and will be in again in the future. You guys are the day oneers. You're the reason why it's even possible. Personal friends like Elantris, and also fans like you, are why I'm able to do this job in the first goddamn place. Unironically, I wish that somebody hadn't taken my job from me by falsely accusing me of violence. But it is what it is. I can't bitch on it and foment on it, I just have to keep moving forward. Unfortunately, I have a desk building in my future! And probably I'll have to talk to my, to the repair guy who was just here. Because my mother kind of didn't inform me of things properly. But that's neither here nor there. I have to go now, though. I need to build this desk as soon as possible so that I can size it properly and order the new microphone parts so that I can isolate my microphone properly. That's coming up in the future, and then as soon as I have that, because I'm still waiting on a video card, also funded by you guys, then we'll have the new computer, and we'll also have money ensure so that I can be able to ensure that I can have a place to go to in case things get wild. Alright, I need to go, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Have a good night. Have a good morning. New gear is fun, Amber. New gear is fun. Oh god, I drank too much. Not really. I'm just feeling loosey-goosey. This is the effect of having vodka punch and orange juice. Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye. 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 And you know the rigmarole. Retweet the stream around. Join the Discord. Follow the stream. Be live and active when I go live and active. Follow my fried chicanery on the internet on my Twitter. And stay tuned for when I start my podcast back up again. Yes, I am not going to be a stranger, Amber. Goodbye, everybody.